Chapter 133. Why did they have to do this? Sometimes people would not shed a tear until they saw the coffin, and would not turn back until they hit the wall. They would only learn their lesson after suffering a loss. Wu Hao and Zhao Xian were like this. Yesterday, they swallowed their anger because they knew that Qin Sheng and Hao Lei were too powerful. If they really fought, they would definitely be at a disadvantage. For businessmen like them who never made a loss, this was naturally not worth it. That was why they waited until the next day to make a move. Since they had already fallen out, how could they still care about their brotherly relationship in the past? That night, the two of them contacted their friends, who didn't know a few gangsters in the construction industry like them. However, they underestimated Qin Sheng and Hao Lei. After all, they had Chang Baji behind them. Chang Baji had been in Xi'an for so many years. His big boss was one of the few who had a reputation in Xi'an. Chang Baji had arranged everything for Qin Sheng with a simple phone call. Hao Lei did not dare to act rashly. He asked Han Bing and Xian to stay where they were. He quietly approached them and then contacted the friend that Chang Baji had mentioned to him last night. In front of the grave, Qin Sheng sat on the ground casually, just like when he was a child under the big locust tree in the yard. His grandfather sat on the recliner and listened to the opera, while he sat on the ground and played. It was a little cold at the foot of Zhongnan Mountains in winter. Looking up, the great Qin Mountains were majestic and endless. But compared to the air in the city, the mountains were more comfortable. No wonder Grandpa would choose such a place. Grandpa, how high do you think a person has to stand to not be moved by the wind? Han Guoping went from a farmer to such a state. In the end, he killed himself with a gun. Jiang Xianbang stood higher than Han Guoping, but he still had to avoid trouble in Hong Kong. Shanghai is so big, I really don't know how much I have to pay and how many years I have to struggle to stand firm in that city, let alone stand out. Qin Sheng muttered to himself. The time he had been back in Shanghai had been very confusing. He had experienced too much, so he could not find the time to settle down. The northwest wind was blowing and the cold wind whistled past. The wind blades were like ice knives hitting his face, but it made him unusually calm. He liked to be calm the most. The calmer he was, the better, especially when he was doing things. Only then could he be considerate and not make any mistake. However, I have met a lot of interesting people and things. Although there were some twists and turns in my life, compared to what I have experienced in the past 2 years, it is very peaceful. I don't know if I made the right choice by following Jiang Xianbang, but it is the best choice now. I just don't know if I can get through this, or I have to start all over again. Primitive accumulation is the most difficult stage, but everyone has to go through it. Today's society is no longer the time where one can fight their way. Grandpa, do you think Jiang Xianbang can get through this? Qin Sheng continued to chat with his grandfather and said, Alas, let's leave it to fate. These things are not up to me to decide. Let nature take its course. No matter what the result is, I have to face it calmly and then move on to the next step. As long as I am still alive, I have a chance to stand out. Anyway, I'm not sure. And Han Bing, I've been with her the longest during this period. I also know that she might like me, but my feelings for her can't reach hers. Finally, there's Lin Su. I met Lin Su when I went out. She made me feel like a bosom friend. We have a tacit understanding and we've experienced a lot of things together. I fell in love with her at the beginning. Now that I see her again, I don't hesitate to start chasing her. I don't know if I can get her. If I can, she should be your granddaughter-in-law. Qin Sheng said, Grandpa, during this period of time, I met 1 or 2 strangers. I've never seen them before, but I have a feeling of déjà vu. It's quite strange. After Qin Sheng finished talking about the trifles of life, he talked about what he had encountered recently. After a while, he said, There's one more thing, Grandpa, I'm also a little confused. You've said before that the only thing I can't handle in my life is love. If I can, she should be your granddaughter-in-law. Grandpa, the last thing is about my life. I want to know but don't want to know. I really don't know whether I should go to Beijing or not. Qin Shing talked a lot as if his grandfather was beside him. In the end, his mouth was dry and he felt that he had finished talking. He slowly stood up and said, Grandpa, I have to stop talking. Rest early. I will go back first. I will come back to see you during the spring festival. Take care of yourself. After saying the last sentence, Qin Shing patted the soil on his buttocks and turned to leave. In the open space at the foot of the mountain, 2 Haval SUVs were blocking the Audi A4L. Hao Lei had already contacted Chang Baji's friend, who was already on his way. It was estimated that it would take more than half an hour. Fortunately, he was in Gaoxin, so he came pretty fast. Hao Lei did not dare to act rashly. He had been waiting for Qin Shing. If they went there together, it would be absolutely safe. If he went alone, he would inevitably be at a disadvantage. When Qin Shing came over, he found Han Bing and Xin hiding behind a big tree. He patted Han Bing from behind and she was so scared that she almost screamed. She quickly said, You scared me to death. Can't you make a sound? What's wrong? Why are you here? Qin Shing was puzzled. Han Bing pointed not far away and said, Look over there, it seems that someone is blocking us. Hao Lei asked us to stay here because he is afraid of danger. Qin Shing then looked down the mountain and could not help but frown. It was obvious that it was Wu Hao and Zhao Xian who found these people. They were just a bunch of clowns. Qin Shing snorted and said, You two stay here. I will go over and have a look. Be careful. Han Bing and Xin both reminded him. Hao Lei had already noticed Qin Shing coming over. When Qin Shing came closer, he said, These 2 bastards really found people to deal with us. It has to be like this. I really don't want it to be like this. I hope it is not them. Qin Shing sighed. Hao Lei sneered and said, They have already done this. They can't blame us. I am afraid of trouble. We are fine in Shanghai, but our family is in Xi'an. Qin Shing frowned and said. Hao Lei replied, Lao Cheng's friend is already here. Today we will completely solve this matter and teach these 2 bastards a lesson. Let's go over first. They are just a few hooligans. Just treat it as practice, Qin Shing said disdainfully. Therefore, Qin Shing and Hao Lei swaggered over there. Before they got close, the group of people noticed them. One of the hooligans said to the leader, Brother Wei, they are here. Do you want to fight? No hurry. Wait for them to come over. Brother Wei, who was wearing a leather jacket and had long hair, said in a low voice. After Qin Shing and Hao Lei came over, Brother Wei waved his hand and 6 of his men directly surrounded Qin Shing and Hao Lei. Qin Shing smiled and said, Friend, which gang are you from? I don't think we know each other. We don't know each other. But you have offended the wrong people, so I am here to teach you a lesson. Brother Wei was polite and said casually. His dressing was a little artistic. Qin Shing really did not know how to do this. Hao Lei snorted and said, Wu Hao and Zhao Xian sent you here? You don't have to worry about this. If you cooperate, we will not make things difficult for you. After all, you are all ordinary people. If you don't cooperate, then don't blame me for making you suffer. Brother Wei directly threatened. Qin Shing smiled faintly and said, How do we cooperate? Break one of your legs and this matter will be over, Brother Wei said bluntly. Hao Lei laughed out loud and said, Just by you. Just by us? Brother Wei did not take Qin Shing and Hao Lei seriously at all. Weren't they just 2 young lads? He was trained in Sanda. His men had fought and caused trouble before. Wouldn't it be a piece of cake to deal with these 2 young lads? Qin Shing said lightly, When you come out to make a living, you should at least bring something scary. Otherwise, you won't be able to control the situation, don't you think? I don't need to deal with you, Brother Wei said with a faint smile. Qin Shing shook his head and sighed. Have you seen Han Han's movie Riding the Wind and Waves? What do you mean? Brother Wei did not understand. Qin Sheng said slowly, they are all small fries. What are you talking about? After saying this, Qin Sheng made the first move. He leaned forward and directly kicked Brother Wei's chest. With Qin Sheng's skills, Brother Wei did not even have time to react before he was kicked away. Seeing that Qin Sheng had already made his move, Hao Lei did not hesitate to pull a man next to him and directly kneed the man in the face. The man instantly fell to the ground and could not get up. No one expected Qin Sheng and Hao Lei to actually dare to make a move. After Brother Wei's men came back to their senses, they quickly rushed towards Qin Sheng and Hao Lei. Unfortunately, it was too late. Moreover, with their skills they were simply too weak. Qin Sheng and Hao Lei fought back and forth. This group of people could not get close at all. After Brother Wei got up and went in front of Qin Sheng directly grabbed his arm and threw him over his shoulder. In less than 10 minutes, everyone, including Brother Wei, was lying on the ground. They had suffered a great loss today. Who would have thought that such an ordinary thing would result in such a shocking result? Brother Wei was getting angrier. He pulled out a long dagger from his waist and came towards Qin Sheng again. His knife skills were messy and there was no pattern at all. His feet were weak. After Qin Sheng dodged his first attack calmly, he found the right opportunity and reached out with lightning speed. He grabbed Brother Wei's wrist that was holding the knife. With a pull and a twist, he directly stabbed the dagger into Brother Wei's shoulder. Hao Lei, who was standing at the side, flew out and kicked Brother Wei's abdomen. Brother Wei once again flew out like a kite with a broken string. This time, he could no longer get up. Even if he could get up, he did not dare to, otherwise he would be beaten up again. The fight was over. Qin Sheng and Hao Lei looked at each other and sighed helplessly. Next time when you go out, remember to bring more people with you. With just these few people, you want to take a leg from each of us? You really talk big. Big brother, we were wrong. It's our fault. We were blind and offended you. Brother Wei begged for mercy in time. He directly knelt on the ground. At this moment, he already understood that he had really kicked an iron plate today. These two were obviously not ordinary people. Just based on their skills, even if there were 10 more of them, they would not be a match for them. Hao Lei stood in front of Brother Wei and said, "Now you know that you were wrong. Where did your arrogance go? If it wasn't for the fact that there are so many of you, it would be difficult to deal with you if you were killed. Otherwise, I guarantee that even if you came here today, you would not be able to go back alive." When Brother Wei heard this, he panicked and said, "Big brother, spare us. We are just small fries. It's our fault. We will kowtow to you." After saying that, Brother Wei hurriedly kowtowed. When the other underlings saw this, they did not dare to hesitate and quickly kowtowed as well. A group of spineless men. If they really wanted to succeed, 6 or 7 men could kill them. Naturally, it would be difficult for him and Hao Lei to escape unscathed. He waved his hand and said, "All right, tell me, who asked you to come? If you tell me, I will spare you. As for whether you will take revenge later, I don't care." Brother Wei did not dare to take revenge. Today, he had gotten lucky. When he met these 2 ancestors later, he would have to take a detour. "Big brother, it was that D*Ned Wu Hao and Zhao Xian who asked us to come. They asked us to make trouble for you." At this time, Brother Wei hurriedly poured dirty water on Wu Hao and Zhao Xian. In his heart, he had already cursed 18 generations of their ancestors. They asked us to deal with such powerful characters for a few tens of thousands of yuan. Chapter 134. Who do you think I am? It's the end of the month, please get a monthly ticket. Qin Sheng really hoped that it wasn't Wu Hao and Zhao Xian. He would rather it was his old enemy. But it was them, which made Qin Sheng feel very embarrassed. They could cut ties with each other and not see each other in the future. But they did this, so he had to be ruthless. From last night until now, Qin Sheng had been troubled by this matter. Their feelings used to be so sincere, but after a few years of immersion in society, their hearts became extremely dirty, which really made people sigh. Qin Sheng could be cruel to his enemies, but he couldn't be cruel to them. But he could only do this. He took out a cigarette and lit it. He looked at Hao Lei and said, "When will Lao Cheng's friends arrive?" "I'll make a phone call and ask," Hao Lei said in a low voice. He had already sent his location over. He thought that they would arrive soon. After the phone call, he told Qin Sheng, 10 minutes. Qin Sheng waved to Han Bing and Xian in the distance, indicating that they could come over. Han Bing, who had experienced several storms, had long been used to this kind of scene, so she was not nervous or afraid. But Xian, who had seen it for the first time, was a little scared. Han Bing comforted her. "It's okay, it's just a small matter." After Han Bing and Xian came over, Qin Sheng threw the key to Han Bing and said, "Drive the car to the roadside and wait for us there. We'll go over when it's done." "Okay." Han Bing nodded. Xian saw the 6 or 7 men with bruised noses and swollen faces on the ground. Especially Brother Wei, who had a dagger in his shoulder. At this moment, his clothes had been soaked with blood. "Brother, are you okay?" Xian was worried. Qin Sheng touched Xian's hair and smiled. "It's okay. Wait for us in the car with your sister Bing Bing." 10 minutes later, Lao Cheng's friend arrived in 3 cars. Compared to this side, Lao Cheng's friend's extravagance was a little bigger. He had a Land Rover Range Rover and 2 Toyota Prado. Obviously, he was going to do something big. A small fry like Brother Wei could not be compared to him. After the 3 cars stopped, more than a dozen men jumped out of the cars, holding weapons in their hand. They were either machetes or sticks. Originally, they wanted to show off their skills, but when they saw the situation in front of them, they were instantly stunned. What was going on? The leader was a man in his 30s. He was dressed in a suit and had a cigar in his mouth. He walked over slowly. He was not surprised by the scene in front of him. He said softly, "Are you Mr. Chang's friends?" Qin Sheng and Hao Lei nodded, then introduced themselves and said their names. "I am Su Shen. President Chang asked me to cooperate with you." The man with a fashionable hairstyle and a grandfather's gray hair wax said with a smile. Qin Sheng did not intend to say anything to the man named Su Shen. He said casually, "Brother Su, these people, you deal with them." "Okay, leave it to me." Su Shen directly took it over. Qin Sheng hesitated for a moment and said to Su Shen with a smile, "Brother Su, I want to see the 2 friends I saw tonight, who are their behind-the-scenes instigators. Is it troublesome?" Su Shen held his chin with one hand and pondered for a while. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, wait for my news. Then we'll go first." Qin Sheng nodded to Su Shen and left with Hao Lei directly. However, he left a majestic image. Just now, the aura in a few words completely suppressed Su Shen. He only felt that Qin Sheng was not a small character. He should be a big shot. Otherwise, it was impossible to have such an aura at such a young age. After seeing Qin Sheng and Hao Lei coming over, Han Bing quickly got out of the car and asked, "Finished?" "Finished. I'll take you to the Terracotta Army and Horses Huaqing Pool." Qin Sheng smiled very casually. Hao Lei drove along the Guangzhong Ring Road to the west on the highway, and then went straight to the Lintong Terracotta Army and Horses. Emperor Qin Shi Huang, who came to Xi'an but did not go to the Terracotta Army and Horses, was like going to Beijing but did not go to the Tiananmen, or going to Shanghai but did not go to the Bund. This was already the symbol of a city. During the 3-day New Year's holiday, the Terracotta Army and Horses had already been overcrowded. It was always the most visited place in Xi'an. After Qin Sheng bought the tickets, he found a beautiful tour guide and took them to visit the Terracotta Army and Horses. They walked for more than an hour. They were all cultural relics. If there was no professional explanation, it was obvious that they could not see anything. Han Bing was very interested in the terracotta army and horses. The majestic aura told the glory of the great Qin Empire. After seeing the terracotta army and horses, they went to the Huaqing pool. The Huaqing pool was much simpler. When Qin Shing came before, he gave the Huaqing pool a nickname, called the Tang Royal Bathing Place. It was more or less worthy of the name. It was the ruins of some bathing halls. Behind the Huaqing pool was Mount Li. However, it was winter, and no one had the desire to climb the mountain. Dinner was settled in Lintong. There was a food stall in Lintong called Wengji Seafood. It made a very famous dish called sour and spicy cabbage. Almost everyone who came would order it. The taste was really amazing, and the business was very good. After dinner, they went back to Xi'an. Qin Shing took Han Bing and the others to the folk bar in Shunqing Alley to drink and listen to songs. Xian did not drink, so she drove home at night. This girl had gotten her driver's license early, but her driving skills were really not good. This bar was called South Alley. It was a place that Qin Shing often came to when he was in high school. At that time, he and Su Qin worked here. The Lin family was still at its peak, so Qin Shing never lacked pocket money. However, Qin Shing saved it. Su Qin's family was also like this. However, the feeling of earning money by oneself and the money given by others was different. The two high school students supported the business of this bar. They did not have a fixed time every month. They came more often during holidays. They were the boss's god of wealth. After every night, Qin Shing would send Su Qin back first, and then take the bus home. However, 6 or 7 years had passed. The boss might have changed several times, not to mention the waiters here, so no one knew Qin Shing. This was just right. He did not have to talk about the past. He ordered a dozen drinks. He ordered juice for Xian. Naturally, Han Bing also drank. This woman's capacity for liquor was not bad. Qin Shing was not interested in singing today, so he simply sat down and listened to songs. In Chernsheng's, outside the Peony Pavilion, the singer was pretending to be serious, and the listener was the most ruthless. Every time he sang on the stage, Qin Shing would also think so. In the past, at least there would always be an audience below the stage. Later, Qin Shing only sang for himself. They had been chatting, preparing to go to Yuanjia village tomorrow morning. On the way back, they would go to Feimin Temple. In the evening, they would fly back to Shanghai and end this short 3-day trip. In the evening, Zhao Xian and Wu Hao had a social event. They were ready to take on a new project. They talked and laughed during the dinner, with ease. They were not immature at all. They were more slick than the experienced people who had been in Jianghu for more than 10 years. They regarded this as success. After dinner, the driver sent them back. The two separated at the door of the hotel and took their respective cars home. Wu Hao also lived in Xuzhang and Zhao Xian lived in Gaoxin. What they did not know was that at this time they had been stared at. When they just left the hotel, there were 4 cars following them. As for the matter of Qin Shing and Hao Lei, Wu Hao and Zhao Xian did not take it to heart. They were naturally assured that Brother Wei would take care of it. In the afternoon, Brother Wei had called them and said that the matter had been completed, which made them feel very happy and relieved. Su Shen's men had been looking for opportunities. The traffic flow in Gaoxin was relatively large. At night, Xuzhang was somewhat quiet, so Wu Hao found the opportunity first. At a traffic light intersection, there were only 2 cars of Wu Hao and Su Shen. Wu Hao's Mercedes-Benz S600L was at the forefront, and the tyrannical car behind directly rear-ended, but it was not too serious. Wu Hao's driver came down while swearing. The two sides began to quarrel. Wu Hao had not come down from the car. Seeing that the quarrel was a little fierce, he got off impatiently. When he just walked to the center of the incident, several men came down from the car behind him in an instant. They did not hesitate to pull Wu Hao into the car, including his driver. The two cars went away, and they also drove away Wu Hao's Mercedes-Benz S600L, as if nothing had happened. As for Zhao Xian, he had not found a chance, and finally had to give up. After Su Xin succeeded, he immediately called Qin Sheng and told Qin Sheng, "I only caught Wu Hao. Zhao Xian did not find a chance, so I can only wait. One is enough." "Thank you, Brother Su," Qin Sheng said. Su Xin laughed and said, "It's okay. It's nothing." "Where are you?" "I'll come right away," Qin Sheng asked. After confirming the address, he hung up the phone. In the South Lane bar, Qin Sheng answered the phone and came back. "Well, it's late. It's time to go, or Auntie Wang will be worried. Let's go." Han Bing and Xinxin also nodded and followed Qin Sheng, and Hao lay out. After coming out, Qin Sheng threw the key to Xinxin and said, "Xinxin, you take your sister Bing Bing back first. Your brother Lei and I are going to do something. We will go back in a while." "It's so late. What are you going to do? Be honest," Xinxin said maliciously. She was a silly girl. How could she be so smart? Unlike Han Bing, she immediately guessed that it must be something that happened during the day. Qin Sheng laughed and scolded, "You little boy, why do you ask so much?" After Xinxin left with Han Bing, Qin Sheng and Hao Lei took a taxi and went straight to a single courtyard in Chang'an district. Su Xin's men did not do anything to Wu Hao. They just blindfolded him and tied him to the chair. This feeling of helplessness made Wu Hao very scared. He begged for mercy. "Brother, what are you? What do you want to do? Is there anything that can't be talked about?" "We don't want to do anything. You sit here obediently. It's just that someone wants to see you," Su Xin said casually. After that, he ignored Wu Hao and went out to drink with his men outside. When people were most afraid, it was when they fell into darkness. Wu Hao was like this at the moment. No matter how loudly he shouted, no one paid attention to him, as if he was thrown into a dark world. Not knowing how long it took, Wu Hao was tired and calmed down. Since the other party brought him here and did not kill him, it was obvious that his life was not safe. Secondly, the other party said that someone wanted to see him, then he would eventually see the person behind him. Just when Wu Hao was about to fall asleep, he heard the door of the room being pushed open. A man walked in slowly. The man's footsteps were very light and his breathing was very rhythmic. "Who are you?" Wu Hao said. The man did not answer. He just turned on the light. Then he walked in front of him and unfastened the black cloth covering his eyes. At the same time, he said, "Who do you think I am?" Chapter 135. Boss Yiwu Hao did not expect his retribution to come back so fast. He had long abandoned the so-called classmate and brotherly relationship, because Qin Sheng was a person of no use to him. Moreover, this person had stolen his limelight and his beloved woman. As time passed, he was already an outstanding and successful businessman. What was Qin Sheng? He was just an ordinary salesperson in Shanghai, who probably did not even have enough food and clothing to eat and wear. He used to be the school's pride, but now he was at the bottom of the society. Their identities were reversed, so Wu Hao naturally wanted to humiliate him. Unexpectedly, last night he went for wool and came home shorn. In the end, he was humiliated, so he became angry and asked someone to break one of Qin Sheng's and Hao Lei's legs. In the afternoon, Brother Wei told him that it was done. He was very happy and drank a few more glasses in the evening. He cursed in his heart, "You are so cocky. Do you still think that I am an ignorant high school student? I am now a local tycoon with tens of millions of yuan. You can't compare with me." But what was going on in front of him? Why was Qin Sheng standing in front of him unscathed? He didn't look like he had one of his legs broken. He instantly understood. Wu Hao was still in a daze. Apparently, he had not come back to his senses yet. Qin Sheng teased, "Are you surprised?" "Surprised? This boss, why are you here? It was Wu Hao's character not to fight when the odds were against him. After understanding what was going on, Wu Hao knew what to do. He pretended that nothing had happened and pretended to be stupid. Qin Sheng asked, I have to ask you. Why am I here? Why are you here? Boss, is there a misunderstanding between us? Wu Hao still had the same attitude. Qin Sheng sighed and said, Wu Hao, people say 3 years old. I knew it when I was in high school. You are smart, but most of your cleverness is small. You are narrow-minded and have no sense of responsibility. You are afraid when you encounter something. At this time, you are still fooling around with me. Do you really think I am a 3-year-old child? Boss, I don't know what you are talking about. Wu Hao's eyes flickered and the corner of his mouth twitched subconsciously. He hated Qin Sheng to the core because Qin Sheng had pointed out all his shortcomings. Who would be willing to be exposed? Qin Sheng sneered as he said, Didn't you want me and Hao Lei to have 1 leg each? Now we have delivered ourselves to your doorstep. Let's check the goods. Boss, you must be joking. I treat you guys as friends. How could I do that? Wu Hao argued. Qin Sheng shook his head and smiled bitterly. He turned around and took 2 steps forward. Really? After saying this, Qin Sheng suddenly turned around and kicked Wu Hao to the ground without any warning. This kick landed directly on Wu Hao's chest. Wu Hao, who was tied to the chair, could not escape at all. He fell to the ground in a sorry state, moaning in pain. Qin Sheng said disdainfully, Do you really think that I have no temper? I said that I am a salesman in Shanghai. King believed it. Did a dog eat your brain? Do you still remember what I said? Sometimes, power and money can't settle some things. Moreover, you have not reached the stage where you can control everything. How dare you show off in front of me? Boss, I was wrong. King have brain problems. Just treat me as a fart and let me go. I won't dare to do it again. Wu Hao begged for mercy. He was afraid that Qin Sheng would beat him again. The more Wu Hao behaved like this, the angrier Qin Sheng became. Because this made him look down on Wu Hao from the bottom of his heart. He said slowly, Wu Hao, you look like a funny clown now. Do you know what I despise most about a man? You can be greedy and lustful. You can be shameless and dirty. But you can't King lack of responsibility and integrity. If you don't even have this, no matter how good you are still King useless. If there is a next time, you'd better find some powerful tiger man. Don't find a small fry. Look at me, I find someone to clean you up. I find boss he so that there is no worry. Don't you think so? If you want to completely suppress people like Wu Hao, you not only need to let him suffer a little physical pain, but also need to bring out a backer to deter him. Behind Lao Chang and Su Shin was Boss He. How could Wu Hao, who mingled in Xian, not know Boss He? As expected, when Wu Hao heard that Qin Sheng was looking for Boss He was scared out of his wit. Boss He started his career as a gangster. Now, he was the real big boss in Xian. If he really offended this big boss, he really did not know how he would be played to death. Boss, I was wrong. I dare not do it again. For the sake that we used to be friends, please spare me this time. Wu Hao cried bitterly. Qin Sheng helped Wu Hao up, patted Wu Hao's shoulder and said, You also know that we used to be friends. Now I really feel blind. I have a friend like you. Fortunately, we broke up early. Otherwise, I really don't know how you will cheat me in the future. However, I will definitely let you go. I don't want to kill you. But if I let you go like this, I will lose my face. At least you have to suffer a little. Don't worry, I won't do it myself. I am afraid to dirty my hands. Boss He's men will have a good talk with you. If you have any requirements, you can talk to them. Qin Sheng said with a smile. This kind of small thing, he would hand it over to Su Shin. I'll say it again. I'll give you 1 chance, but I won't give you a second chance. If you still want to take revenge, think about the consequences. Next time, I'll take your life. You can deal with me before that. Qin Sheng said ruthlessly. After saying this, Qin Sheng was about to leave. Suddenly, he thought of something and said, "Well, I almost forgot to mention one thing. You can make fun of me in any way you want. If I hear anyone say that you made fun of Su Qin, don't worry, I won't spare you." No one knew when Qin Sheng suddenly had a dagger in his hand. It seemed that he had just taken it from the table outside. He had been holding it in his hand. When he finished this sentence, the cold light of the dagger suddenly appeared. Wu Hao's pupils instantly dilated. Before he shouted, Qin Sheng's dagger had been inserted into Wu Hao's thigh. The blood instantly dyed his pants red. Wu Hao cried heartbreakingly. Qin Sheng didn't care about anything. He turned and left directly. After coming out, he said a few words to Su Shen, and then left with Hao Lei. Wu Hao and Zhao Xian, it was enough to deal with one person, not to mention that Wu Hao was the mastermind. Back to Jindi Furong Shijia, none of the three women were there. They were watching a variety show in the living room. Han Bing was really smart. In 2 days, she had already won the hearts of the mother and daughter of the Lin family. Xian, who was tit for tat at the beginning, now began to call each other sisters. Qin Sheng really felt injustice for Su Qin. She was really an ungrateful person. In fact, Qin Sheng knew in his heart that Han Bing and Xian were worried about him, so they waited for him to come back before going to sleep. Wang Li saw Qin Sheng push the door and entered. She smiled and got up. "Xing you are back. I also cooked some porridge in the kitchen. Have some." "Auntie, why haven't you slept yet?" Qin Sheng laughed. Han Bing pointed to the TV and blinked. "We are watching this reality show. We are going to sleep after watching it." Qin Sheng took a bowl of porridge from the kitchen and accompanied the women to watch the reality show. After watching it, they went back to their rooms to sleep. The next day, they all got up very early. Hao Lei arrived at the gate of the community early. Then Qin Sheng took Han Bing and the others straight to the famous Yuanjia village in the neighboring city. It was a village of ethnic customs and there were many snacks. She and citizens would go there on weekends and holidays to eat and drink. They played in Yuanjia village for half a day. In the afternoon, Qin Sheng took them to Feimen Temple to burn incense. The most famous thing in Feimen Temple was naturally the Buddha's finger bone relic, so it had a particularly high status in Buddhism. There was also an illusion. How did they find the Buddha's finger bone relic? There used to be an old pagoda in Feimen Temple. The pagoda had been in a precarious situation for many years and finally collapsed. When they were cleaning it, they found the underground palace below. There were countless antiques and cultural relics in it. The most shocking one was naturally the Buddha's finger bone relic. When they returned to the city, it was already afternoon and the sky was getting dark. The short trip was over. After returning home and packing their luggage, Wang Li sent them to the airport. She was somewhat reluctant to leave. After all, after Qin Sheng and Qin Xin left, she was the only one left in this big house. It was somewhat lonely and desolate. When they left, Qin Xin hugged her mother with red eyes. Qin Sheng also hugged Auntie Wang and said goodbye, but he also promised Auntie Wang that he would come back to spend the spring festival with her. 2.5 hours later, the plane landed at Pudong International Airport. Chang Baji had been waiting at the airport early. Qin Sheng asked him to send Han Bing and Qin Xin back to Huarun 9 Mile Bund. Han Bing wanted to sleep with Qin Xin tonight. The two women had a lot to talk about, so they abandoned Qin Sheng without hesitation. Qin Sheng and Hao Lei returned to Shilin Huayuan. On the way back, Qin Sheng naturally asked, "How is Shangshan Ruoshui these days? Did anything happen?" "Nothing happened. It's just that the business is a bit bleak. I guess a lot of people have heard about Jiang Xianbang's incident. Everyone naturally wants to draw a clear line between them. So these few days are quite idle," Chang Baji said casually. He was really bored these few days. He could only sit in the office drinking tea and chatting. Qin Sheng sighed and said, "As expected. I guess if Jiang Xianbang's incident is not over, the business of Shangshan Ruoshui will not improve. Is there anything else? Yes, one of the 6 members, Boss Yi, who has never shown his face, looked for you and said that he wants to see you, Chang Baji said casually. Boss Yi, Qin Xing muttered to himself. Chapter 136. It was all a routine. May, a new beginning, asking for a monthly ticket. The success of Shangshan Ruoshui was inseparable from the strong support of the 6 top members, especially their strong background and connections, so it could have a place in the bund. These 6 members were either Jiang Xianbang's friends or his partners. Boss Ye's information was the least among the 6 members, but these information were just for show. For example, Xue Qingyan's information only mentioned her job and so on. If there was no insider information, no one would know that her brother was one of the big shots in the municipal government. So Boss Yi, who had less information, was more mysterious and unpredictable. Why did Boss Yi want to see him? This made Qin Xing very confused. But since he wanted to see him, then he would see what was going on. After all, after Jiang Xianbang avoided trouble in Hong Kong, anything could happen. Even though it was winter, Shanghai was still full of vitality in the morning. Those who wanted to gain a foothold in this city, and were willing to put in several times the effort, always got up earlier than others. After sending flowers to Lin Su as usual, Qin Xing rushed to Shangshan Ruoshui early in the morning. The moment he arrived at Shangshan Ruoshui, Lin Su's WeChat message came. Back? Qin Xing just replied yes, and planned to call when he was not busy. Not long after he arrived at Shangshan Ruoshui, Yu Fengji arrived. After changing her clothes, she walked into Qin Xing's office. Every time he saw Yu Fengji in OL clothes, Qin Xing felt a little restless. He really did not know how so many men in Shangshan Ruoshui, facing so many beautiful women every day, how could they not commit crimes? Maybe they had long been tired of beauty. When did you come back? Qin Xing asked for leave to go back to Xi'an. Naturally, he had told Yu Fengji. He had not settled the matter with Wang Haichao. He had to rely on Yu Fengji in the reception department, plus Liu Yuan's cooperation to not make trouble. Qin Xing made himself a cup of tea and said, "Came back last night. Why, so concerned about me? Do you miss me?" Yu Fengji glanced at Qin Xing with a slightly disdainful look, and did not respond at all. She knew that Qin Xing deliberately teased her, but there was nothing she could do. From that day on, their positions had changed. Seeing that Yu Fengji ignored him, Qin Xing walked over slowly and put his hand on Yu Fengji's shoulder. He took a few deep breaths of her hair and said softly, "I haven't seen you for a few days and you're so naughty. Are you regretting it?" "I don't regret it. What do you want to do? Just do it." Yu Fengji shook her head and sneered. The colder she was, the easier it was to arouse a man's desire to conquer her. Qin Xing hugged Yu Fengji's waist from behind and whispered in her ear, "How was the reception department when I was not around? Did Wang Haichao come to work?" The most sensitive part of Yu Fengji's body was her ears. When Qin Xing did that, Yu Fengji almost went limp in his arms. Her face was red and her eyes started to blur. She murmured, "Don't do that." "What do you want then?" Qin Xing was somewhat unscrupulous. He directly bit Yu Fengji's earlobe, challenging her bottom line step by step. Yu Fengji could not stand it anymore. She directly leaned into Qin Xing's arms, and her breathing was already messy. The more noble and elegant a woman was, the more lonely and empty her heart might be. She suppressed her feelings and physiology. If she could not stand a man's provocation, she might explode in an instant. Yu Fengji was this type. Yu Fengji was so seductive. Not to mention she could not stand it, neither could Qin Xing. Sooner or later, she would be his woman, so Qin Xing was not in a hurry. At this moment, he put Yu Fengji on the chair next to him and left with a smile. He held a cup of tea and admired the woman's beauty at this moment. Yu Fengji gradually recovered, but her eyes were full of anger. Qin Shing deliberately tortured her like this, but she could not do anything, which made her feel very ashamed. Why, you have already started to hate me. You have to know that this is your choice. If you want to hate someone, you have to hate yourself, Qin Shing said unconcernedly. Yu Fengji remained silent. Yes, even if she wanted to hate someone, she had to hate herself. This was her own choice. If she wanted to get something, she had to pay the price, unless she regretted it now. But she had already come this far, how could she regret? Let's get down to business. Has Wang Haichao come to work these days? Qin Shing changed the topic. Yu Fengji nodded and said, as soon as you left he came to work, as if nothing had happened. He behaved very calmly, as usual, doing what he should do. The more normal, the more abnormal. I overtook him in a curve, so he must be unhappy. But I am very surprised that he did not resign. I don't know if he is tolerant enough, or he is reluctant to give up the treatment of Shangshan Ruoshui, Qin Shing said thoughtfully. Yu Fengji shook her head and said, I don't know, you have to find the answer yourself. You go to work, and later on time for the regular meeting. Inform me when Mizan arrives, Qin Shing ordered. Just when Yu Fengji was about to open the door and leave, she heard Qin Shing shouting behind her. I remember you said last time that you would give me a key to your house. Where is the key? This sentence made Yu Fengji ashamed and annoyed. She turned back and stared at Qin Shing, and quickly ran away from the devil in front of her, leaving Qin Shing with a burst of laughter. He did not expect that Yu Fengji had such a cute side. After Mizan arrived, Qin Shing went to her office. During this period of time, she would make do in Su Lanqing's office. When her office was cleaned up, she would move in. Chang Baji had been staying in the former security manager's office. After becoming the deputy general manager in charge of the overall situation, Ms. An's aura was different. But after seeing Qin Shing, she was still polite and smiled. You are finally back. You are not allowed to ask for leave this month. Ha ha ha, Mizan, don't worry. I will not ask for leave this month. I will go to work on time every day. Qin Shing sat down, took the water poured by Mizan and said in a deep voice. Mizan took the initiative and said, when you were not here, Wang Haichao came to me and wanted to reconcile with you. He was afraid that you would still remember the past, so he asked me to talk to you. What do you think? Anyway, I think Wang Haichao is still capable. After this incident, he will definitely be more low-key. It is impossible for him to provoke you. He can stay. If you feel that he is not suitable, it is okay even if you fire him. Anyway, you have said that you will promote Liu Yuan. There are many capable people in the reception department. Qin Shing knew that Mizan had given the initiative to him. Of course, he would not fire Wang Haichao. Otherwise, how could he stand in Shangshan Ruoshui in the future? Everyone thought that he was narrow-minded. If Wang Haichao was sensible and cooperated with him, then there would be no problem. So Qin Shing smiled and said, I will talk to him later. Okay, I will not go to announce the appointment of Liu Yuan as the deputy manager of the reception department. There are still a lot of things to deal with in the finance department. I will ask Lao Chong to go there, Mizan said casually. Qin Shing asked casually, what's wrong with the finance department? Nothing, just a small matter. Don't worry, Mizan said with a smile. This time, everyone attended the regular meeting of the reception department. This was Qin Shing's first meeting. Chang Baji stood in the middle and Qin Shing stood beside Chang Baji. On one side were Wang Haichao and Liu Yuan, and on the other side was Yu Fengji. The process of the regular meeting was very simple. Chang Baji said some official words, saying that Shangshan Ruoshui had made some personnel changes for better service and management. Qin Shing had become the manager of the reception department. He hoped that everyone in the reception department could support Qin Shing's work and hope that the reception department could be improved under Qin Shing's leadership. Then, he announced that Liu Yuan would be the deputy manager of the reception department. What followed was the conversation between Qin Sheng and Liu Yuan, which was also boring. As for Liu Yuan's promotion, Wang Haichao was not surprised and kept smiling. After the meeting, Chang Baji left. Qin Sheng patted Wang Haichao's shoulder and smiled. "Old Wang, let's talk?" Everyone in the reception department stared at the leaders on the stage. Of course, they noticed Qin Sheng and Wang Haichao's actions. Everyone had their own thoughts. Everyone knew that these two did not get along in the past. However, Qin Sheng was promoted step by step and eventually surpassed Wang Haichao. Wang Haichao was not convinced and did not know what the result would be. After walking into the office, Qin Sheng said casually, "Old Wang, sit." Then, he threw a cigarette to Wang Haichao and lit it without hesitation. Wang Haichao hesitated for a moment and followed suit. He heard Qin Sheng say, "I guess many people outside are waiting to see us make a fool of ourselves. I guess they are waiting to see me make a fool of myself." Wang Haichao smiled awkwardly. This was also a sign of weakness to Qin Sheng. This sentence also showed his attitude, which was to lower his head to Qin Sheng. Every teenager used to be full of passion, but in the end, they were polished by the society. Wang Haichao used to be like this, but he was already in his 30s and had to lower his head to the society. If he did not lower his head, he could only get out of here. How could he find such a well-paid and decent job at the age of 30? Therefore, he had no choice but to convince himself. What Qin Sheng needed to do was to take a step back and give Wang Haichao a way out. "Old Wang, let's be honest. We used to have conflicts, but they were all related to work. Maybe our characters and ways of doing things were different, but there was no real personal grudge. You are a senior in Shangshan Ruoshui. Whether it is qualifications or ability, you are above me. But I came to Shangshan Ruoshui for a different starting point, so I can advance faster than you. I know you have grievances in your heart. If it were me, I would do the same, don't you think?" Qin Sheng said slowly. No matter what Wang Haichao thought in his heart at this moment, he could only say, "Manager Qin is right. You are too polite. There is no outsider here. You can call me Little Qin." Qin Sheng gave Wang Haichao enough face. Wang Haichao smiled bitterly and said, "Manager Qin, I know what you want to say. No matter what happened in the past is right or wrong, it is in the past. In the future, I will naturally cooperate with your work. As you said, there is no personal grudge between us." Really no personal grudge? Wang Haichao thought. He told himself again that he was lowering his head to reality and did not know Qin Sheng. If there was a chance, he would definitely fight back. Hearing Wang Haichao still called him Manager Qin and the tone in his words, Qin Sheng knew that the grudge between him and Wang Haichao was destined to be unresolvable. In the future, Wang Haichao might trip him up at the critical moment. Therefore, Qin Sheng decided to find a chance to get rid of Wang Haichao, but not now. "Old Wang, I am relieved to hear your words." Although he said that, he was definitely not at ease in his heart. But he still had to say so. After all, he was the leader. Wang Haichao did not want to continue to stay. Feeling that it was enough, he stood up and said, "Manager Qin, if there is nothing else, I will go to work." "Okay." Qin Sheng nodded and then sent Wang Haichao out with a smile. Chapter 137. Impossible in the face of reality, many so-called sly and sophisticated people did not feel that it was a big deal to lose their backbone and dignity. To them, this was just a way to be flexible. Yes, the society was too complicated. This was just a means of survival. As long as one endured humiliation, one would get back everything that belonged to him sooner or later. Most people would make the same choice when faced with Wang Haichao's situation. It was just that some people did it to the extreme. Wang Haichao's cultivation was not high enough. At least, everything that he had shown made Qin Sheng wary. After Wang Haichao left, Liu Yuan followed him in and thanked Wang Haichao straightforwardly. By now, he had figured out everything. Without Wang Haichao, he would not have been able to sit in this position. If Qin Xing did not come, there would not be a third deputy manager position. If it was someone else, he might not make a promise to him. It could only be said that Qin Xing valued friendship and was reliable. So Liu Yuan planned to return the favor and stand on Qin Xing's side faithfully. At this point, the reception department of Shangshan Ruoshui was completely controlled by Qin Xing. 2 of the 3 managers had become his loyal confidant. As for Wang Haichao, he was not worth mentioning. After Jiang Xianbang's accident, coupled with a series of events, the business of Shangshan Ruoshui was not as good as before. So there were basically no guests at noon. Although there were some groundless things, otherwise Jiang Xianbang could not leave the country to Hong Kong smoothly. Those shrewd businessmen would subconsciously avoid arousing suspicion, so as not to get into trouble. Qin Xing could not help but think about what he had talked about with Xue Qinyan. If things were really getting worse, he could let Jiang Xianbang consider selling the shares, or transfer the shares to someone else. After all, the 6 VVIP members all had the intention to take over the shares. Shangshan Ruoshui had accumulated over the years. It was a good deal. Qin Xing was most willing to let Xue Qinyan take over the shares. At lunchtime, Qin Xing ran to the music academy. He already knew where Qing was attending class from the old butler. After all, the old butler had arranged people to protect Qing and would not let anyone do anything to her at this time. So Qin Xing was waiting under the teaching building before the class was over. Whether it was the Academy of Music or the Academy of Drama, there were definitely many beauties. Therefore, in the economically developed Shanghai, this place had become a disaster area. Every day there were countless playboys hunting for beauties here. A beauty like Qing naturally could not escape their range. However, with Jiang Xianbang, no one dared to act rashly. As soon as the bell rang, the students jumped out of the classroom. For the students, this was the best music to listen to. Qing who was dressed in fresh and refined clothes, was surrounded by a few students. They chatted as they walked. Everyone liked a beautiful teacher like her. Qin Xing stood not far away. When Qing came closer, he walked over slowly and said with a smile, "Beauty, can I treat you to a meal?" A few of Qing students looked at her with contempt. Anyway, they knew that teacher Qing had a lot of pursuers. She would often encounter such uninvited guests. Teacher Qing had always ignored them. But this time, just when they thought that teacher Qing might ignore them again, Qing subconsciously stopped and frowned slightly. "Why are you here?" With one sentence, a few students instantly started gossiping. Obviously, teacher Qing's relationship with this man was not simple. "Why can't I come?" Qin Xing made a pose that he thought was very handsome, but in the eyes of others, he looked stupid. Qing thought for a moment and let the students around her go first. A few students said goodbye and left first. But they did not go far and stopped to watch from a distance. It was rare to see a man so close to teacher Qing. Naturally, they wanted to gossip. What's the matter? Since her uncle went to Hong Kong, Qing's mood was not good. She was not good to Qin Xing at first, and now it was even worse. Qin Xing walked in front of Qing and said, "I say, we are not enemies who killed our father, can you not be so cold? I came to see you with good intentions, at least smile, right? If you have something to say, I'll go back." Qing snorted coldly. Qin Xing said helplessly, "Nothing, I just came back yesterday. Today I came to see you. After all, Uncle Jiang asked me to take care of you and treat you to a meal." "I'm not hungry, you go eat by yourself." Qing directly refused. Qin Xing said playfully, "You really don't want to go?" "I'm not going." Qing gritted her teeth. Qin Xing showed a wretched smile and said, "If you don't go, I will immediately shout that you are pregnant with my child, and now you turn against me and want to kill my child. It was the peak time after classes were over. There were students and teachers everywhere on the road. Moreover, many people were staring here. If Qin Shing really did this, then Qing Er's reputation would really be ruined. In the future, there would be many rumors in this music school. You! Qing Er heard this and gritted her teeth angrily. Shameless! Shamelessness is my biggest strength, thank you for your praise. Qin Shing said indifferently, are you going or not? What could Qing Er do when she met a hooligan like Qin Shing? She was also very desperate. For the sake of her innocence and reputation, she could only leave with Qin Shing. There were too many places to eat in Middle Huaihai Road, so they randomly found a Chinese restaurant. Qing Er really did not have much appetite. After eating a few mouthfuls, she put down her chopsticks. However, Qin Shing's appetite was good. He swept away everything, which made Qing Er angry. Are you here to treat me to a meal or to ask me to accompany you? I'm treating you to a meal. You can't let me go hungry. It doesn't make sense. Besides, I'm treating you, at least I have to eat more, so that I won't lose money, Qin Shing said without raising his head. Qing Er was speechless. How can you be so thick-skinned? Where did you learn this nonsense every day? I'll get used to it. Qin Shing raised his head and smiled. But his mouth was full of oil, and there was still residue on his teeth. It really spoiled the mood. Qing Er really wanted to say, I don't know you. Last time when Qing Er asked Qin Shing about Jiang Xianbang, Qin Shing casually answered, which made Qing Er fall out with him. This time, Qin Shing really wanted to have a good chat. After eating and drinking to his heart's content and wiping his mouth, Qin Shing said seriously, during this period, you'd better stay in Shanghai. If there's nothing, don't go out. Go home early at night. No matter what happens, as long as you feel something is wrong, call me immediately. I think I'll be there as soon as possible. Did something happen to Uncle? Qing Er asked nervously. Qin Shing shook his head and said, no, it's just that Uncle Jiang is not here. I'm afraid that someone will harm you. Last time when you asked me about Uncle Jiang, it's not that I don't want to say it, it's that Uncle Jiang didn't allow me to say it. Who knew that you vented your anger on me? Humph. Qing Er snorted and did not intend to apologize. Qin Shing continued, but I think that since you're such an adult, there are some things that you should know. At least in this way you can pay attention to it. Then tell me now, Qing Er said very seriously. Qin Shing said thoughtfully, no one can have a smooth sailing life, and no one can always grasp the pulse of the times. Ups and downs are normal. Uncle Jiang's backer might be in trouble, so someone started to target him. There are two purposes. One is to suppress Uncle Jiang, the other is to use Uncle Jiang as a breakthrough point. But currently, the backer has not completely collapsed, otherwise Uncle Jiang would have been in trouble. Uncle Jiang is an old fox, maybe he has a very wide network, so he got the news in advance and went to Hong Kong. Although Qin Shing said it very lightly, Qing Er felt that it was quite serious. She could not help but ask, then what should we do? What can we do? This kind of thing, you and I can't do anything. The only thing we can do is not be a burden. So during this time, you have to listen to me, don't let others use you to threaten Uncle Jiang, Qin Shing reminded her kindly. Although Qing Er was very unwilling to listen to Qin Shing, for Uncle Jiang's sake, she could only nod and say, okay. Finally, Qing Er was settled. If he knew it was so easy, Qin Shing would not have listened to old Jiang. After all, this girl did not have a good impression of him. The two were like enemies in the previous life, always unable to talk to each other. In the afternoon, Qin Shing got off work early. Yu Fengji and Liu Yuan were both here today, so he did not need to worry much. He had to worry about his marriage, so he prepared to pick Lin Su up from work and go on a date together. Qin Shing did not inform Lin Su in advance. He rushed to Polly Square before work. He waited until 6 o'clock, but Lin Su did not come out. Qin Xing could not help but call her. People who are better than you work harder than you. You really don't give us losers a way out. What do you mean? Lin Su was confused. Qin Xing curled his lips and said, Are you working overtime again? How do you know? Lin Su laughed. Qin Xing shivered and said, I have been waiting downstairs of your company for almost an hour, and I am almost frozen. How do you think I know? Then continue to freeze, Lin Su said with a smile. Qin Xing quickly said, Madam, don't. What if you freeze to death? Come down quickly, I will take you to eat. 10 minutes, Lin Su said simply and directly. She hung up the phone. After Qin Xing was frozen for another 10 minutes, Lin Su came out. Seeing Qin Xing standing in the cold wind, she was more or less touched. She wrapped her down jacket tightly and said with a smile, Don't you know to find a place to sit for a while? There are several cafes nearby. You're feeling sorry for me, aren't you? Qin Xing said. Lin Su stared at Qin Xing and said, Since you are so sincere, what do you want to eat? It is my treat today. Then I have to make a good meal out of you, Qin Xing said bluntly. They were not in a hurry to eat. Lin Su said that she was not very hungry, so Qin Xing accompanied her for a walk. Lin Su smiled and asked Qin Xing what he did these days. Qin Xing just said that he met up with his former classmates and friends. As they walked, they came across an old man's roadside stall. It was winter and the old man still came out to set up a stall. Could be seen that life was not easy. Lin Su said that they should eat here. Qin Xing agreed without thinking. Dumplings, these were Lin Su's sumptuous meals. However, to Qin Xing, it was not important what he ate. What was important was who he ate with and who he liked. Even if it was a roadside stall, it was much more delicious than the delicacies of the Manchu Han imperial feast. After the meal, Qin Xing sent Lin Su back. They still took the bus. There were many people on the bus. Qin Xing protected Lin Su in front of him. Their posture was a little ambiguous, as if Qin Xing was hugging Lin Su. At first, Lin Su was not used to it and was more or less embarrassed. But slowly she got used to it. Although Qin Xing had not caught up with Lin Su, now they were already like a pair of lovers. They still separated downstairs in the residential area. Qin Xing waited for Lin Su to go in before leaving. He even hummed along the way. Not long after he walked out of the residential area, Qin Xing was stopped by an uninvited guest. The man was about 40 years old. He looked ordinary, no different from most men in their 40s. He directly blocked in front of Qin Xing. It seemed that he did not come with good intentions, but he did not make a move directly. What's the matter? Qin Xing squinted and said, always on guard against unknown dangers. The man's face was gloomy. He said, Young man, listen to me, stay away from her. Chapter 138. This was the Bund. No matter how stupid Yan Chaozong was, he already knew that Qin Xing and Lin Su were not ordinary friends. Qin Xing sent flowers every day, met up with her every few days, and sent Lin Su home every time. If there was no problem with this, he could only say that he was too naive. Even he did not receive such treatment. The most important thing was that Lin Su did not reject him. Therefore, Yan Chaozong sent someone to warn Qin Xing, and also to test him. He did not come in person because he did not want to make a big fuss and also did not want Lin Su to dislike him. However, if he did not do anything and let them go to that stage, he would be embarrassed and become a joke to many people. The man in front of him was a master of the Yin family. Therefore, when facing Qin Xing, he was fearless and spoke in a condescending manner. After all, he represented Yan Chaozong. How could Qin Xing not guess who had sent these people? Other than Lin Su's number one protector, Yan Chaozong, he really could not think of anyone else. Moreover, when Qin Xing knew about Yan Chaozong, He knew that this day would come sooner or later. There's no need to respond so impulsively. I can give you 3 days. 3 days later, I will look for you. At that time, I hope to hear the answer I want. The middle-aged man sneered. Anyway, he was only here to pass on a message. It was okay even if he rejected. As long as his master did not say anything, he would not act rashly. Even if it's 3 days later, this will still be my answer. Tell the person behind you that if I like Lin Su, that's my business. If he also likes Lin Su, he can pursue her with his own ability. Who Lin Su chooses in the end, that's her freedom. No one can control her choice, Qin Xing said firmly. Newborn calves are really not afraid of tigers. I understand. After saying this, the middle-aged man directly turned around and left. Qin Xing stood still and fell into deep thought. Obviously, Yan Chaozong had started to take action. If Yan Chaozong used a soft approach, it would be fine. If he really used a hard approach, it would be really troublesome. After all, his biggest support, Jiang Xianbang, was not in Shanghai. Even if he was in Shanghai, he might not be able to resist the pressure from the Yan family. Therefore, what he needed was Lin Su's choice. If Lin Su really chose him, then no matter how capable Yan Chaozong was, he wouldn't be able to do anything to him. At that time, if Yan Chaozong still continued to pester them, they could choose to develop in other cities. The Yan family wasn't that capable. In the evening, after Qin Xing returned to Shilin Huayuan, he called Jiang Xianbang first and asked him how things were going in Hong Kong. Jiang Xianbang smiled and said, "Everything is going well, except that I'm very bored. I went to Macau twice and lost some money." Qin Xing was speechless as he said, "It seems that you are really bored." Jiang Xianbang had bought a lot of property over the years. In the early years, he had bought 3 villas in Hong Kong. Now he was living in Repulse Bay, which was a famous wealthy area in Hong Kong. The housing prices were ridiculously expensive. After Jiang Xianbang arrived in Hong Kong, he had been living here. He had hired a professional security company to protect him. There were bodyguards everywhere he went. In addition, there were naturally beautiful women accompanying him. Otherwise, these lonely and unbearable days were indeed a little boring. "I don't have enough funds here. Recently, I'm waiting for the funds in China to arrive. I'm preparing to do something overseas," Jiang Xianbang said thoughtfully. Qin Xing frowned and said, "It seems that there's news. Are you preparing to withdraw from the country?" "Not really, I'm just taking precautions. During this time, old Su has been helping me deal with the assets and property in China. Losing some money is nothing. As long as I'm still alive after the matter is over, I can still go back," Jiang Xianbang said truthfully. Although Jiang Xianbang said it very lightly, Qin Xing felt that it must be that the matter was getting more and more serious, which led to Jiang Xianbang having to make such a choice. Moreover, with the current financial policy, whether it was hot money or black money, it was easy to come in, but it was extremely difficult to go out. Jiang Xianbang was equivalent to a clearance sale. Qin Xing did not expect that as soon as he returned to Shanghai, he would encounter 2 disturbances in a row. First, it was Han Guoping, then it was Jiang Xianbang. They were both influential figures for many years. Unfortunately, in the end, something happened to Han Guoping. Han Guoping was more miserable and chose to commit suicide. Jiang Xianbang was a few levels higher than him and had a towering tree behind him. That was why he could escape and watch the tigers fight. However, for Qin Xing, this was not good news. After Jiang Xianbang left Shanghai, he would lose his biggest backer. Everything had to start from scratch. Although Qin Xing was very unwilling, he had to accept this fact. After all, even if there was a benefactor to help him, he also had to have the ability. "Well, what about Shangshan Ruoshui?" Qin Xing said thoughtfully. For Jiang Xianbang, Shangshan Ruoshui was just one of many industries, so he did not care about it. He said casually, "Recently, a friend has already consulted me and is considering it. However, I also recommended you to him. Even if it is transferred to someone else, you can still continue to stay in Shangshan Ruoshui." "It has to be Boss Yi?" Qin Shing asked subconsciously. Jiang Xianbang was not surprised and said, "It seems that Lao Yi has contacted you. You can meet Lao Yi. He and I have been good friends for many years. Although we do not usually contact each other, he can help at critical moments." "Okay." Qin Shing then understood. No wonder Boss Yi wanted to find him. It turned out that it was Jiang Xianbang's recommendation. But then he said, "Besides Boss Yi, are you not considering anyone else?" "Who? Tell me," Jiang Xianbang said curiously. Qin Shing said bluntly, "Sister Shui also wants to take over Shangshan Ruoshui. If Sister Shui can become the boss or one of the bosses, then I can have a firm foothold in Shangshan Ruoshui. It seems that you have been getting along well with Qinyan these days. It is good that you have reached this stage. If Qinyan is really interested, you can ask her to contact me. I want to have a good talk with her. But her brother's identity is too special. I am afraid that she will have scruples," Jiang Xianbang said meaningfully. He knew what Qin Shing meant. Qin Shing and Qinyan were close. If Qinyan took over Shangshan Ruoshui, Qin Shing would be guaranteed freedom and status there. But if Lao Yi took over, it might not be so easy. After all, Lao Yi and Qin Shing were not familiar. Jiang Xianbang was right. This was exactly what Qin Shing was concerned about. Qin Shing chuckled and said, "Okay, then I will ask Sister Shui later. If she is interested, then she will contact you. Help me pay more attention to Qinger. Accompany her when you are free. I am going to ask her to come to Hong Kong. I don't know if she is willing." Jiang Xianbang sighed. He was also forced to do this. Qin Shing did not know whether to laugh or cry. He said, "She and I are enemies in the previous life. I will not see her if I can. As for letting her go to Hong Kong, it depends on what she thinks. I can't do anything about it." "Okay, don't talk nonsense. It is late. I am hanging up." Jiang Xianbang laughed and scolded. His mistress next to him had already begun to act coquettishly. The girls in Hong Kong were much more open than the mainland. As long as they were willing to spend money, there would naturally be people who would take the bait. After the phone call, Qin Shing came out of the bedroom. Chang Baji had not slept yet. He was watching TV. This uncle loved to watch some outdoor star reality shows and funny variety shows. He was so old, but still liked to chase stars. It really made Qin Shing speechless. "Why do you look so worried?" Chang Baji put down the remote control and asked casually. Qin Shing sighed and said, "Jiang Xianbang's matter is a bit serious. Now they have begun to transfer asset. Shangshan Ruoshui is also among them." Chang Baji could not help but frown. This was not a small matter. Both of them now relied on Jiang Xianbang to make a living. He stood up and said, "What are you going to do? Does he have any arrangements for you?" "I am not sure at the moment. I will take one step at a time." Qin Shing shook his head and smiled bitterly. The sun rose, but life still had to go on. Sometimes people should be prepared for danger in times of peace, and sometimes they should not worry too much. Qin Shing was indeed ambitious, but after all, he had to be down to earth. To be able to stand at the top of the pyramid of this city, didn't it take decades to reach that step? Some of them even experienced generations of struggle. He had only returned to Shanghai for a few months. Why would he think so much? Moreover, the current him was much stronger than many people in this city. The business of Shangshan Ruoshui was still not doing well. However, today there was a guest who was Qin Shing's acquaintance. It was Zhao Zishi, whom Qin Shing met for the first time when he went to Jiang Xianbang's garden house. Qin Shing had long known that he was also a member of Shangshan Ruoshui, but he had never seen him come here before. This time when he just arrived, he directly called for him. Yu Fengji received Zhao Zixi and immediately informed Qin Shing to come over. Qin Shing quickly went upstairs, where Yu Fengji was introducing the rules of Shangshan Ruoshui to Zhao Zixi. Brother Zhao, what a rare guest! What brings you here? Qin Shing pushed the door open and said with a smile. Zhao Zixi was dressed more formally. He had an outstanding temperament, and the most important thing was that he was even more experienced. No wonder he could sit together with many old big shots like Jiang Xianbang. Obviously, he was not the kind of second generation who only relied on the family background. Yu Fengji also felt that Zhao Zixi was different, so she took the initiative to receive Zhao Zixi personally. However, she did not expect that Zhao Zixi and Qin Shing actually knew each other. But thinking about it carefully, it was not surprising. Since you didn't ask me out, I could only shamelessly take the initiative to come to you. Zhao Zixi joked, which was considered to be giving Qin Shing enough face. To be honest, Qin Shing was really not in his league. Jiang Xianbang asked him to take care of Qin Shing, so he came over to take a look. Qin Shing hurriedly said, Brother Zhao, you must be joking. I have been very busy these days. I was just about to ask you out. I was just joking. I happened to pass by today. I heard from Uncle Jiang that you were here, so I came over to talk to you, Zhao Zixi said truthfully. Qin Shing laughed and said, Thank you for thinking about me, Brother Zhao. Yu Fengji was still standing next to him. Qin Shing felt a little uncomfortable, so he nodded to Yu Fengji. Yu Fengji then left, but before she left, she stared at Qin Shing, but Zhao Zixi did not see it. After Qin Shing sat down, he poured tea for Zhao Zixi and the two chatted. Qin Shing did not have any questions. Zhao Zixi also did not take the initiative to talk about Jiang Xianbang. The two maintained a tacit understanding. Chapter 139. Being considerate in the Bund, there were not many young people who did not take him seriously, except for those big shots whose family backgrounds were more deep-rooted than his, or those masters from Siju City who pretended to be weak to eat the tiger, or those disciples of the Zhao family who were extremely powerful in the Yangtze River Delta. However, Qin Shing, who was just an ordinary person, did not take him seriously at all. It would be a lie if Yan Chaozong said that he was not angry. Yan Chaozong had been staring at the Lu family's mouth opposite him in a daze. After an unknown period of time, he called his secretary to call over two of his trusted subordinates. One of them was the middle-aged man who had gone to look for Qin Shing last night, and the other was the bodyguard and trusted subordinate who had followed Qin Shing like a shadow. He was also an outstanding junior who had been cultivated by the Yan family since young. Half an hour later, the two men appeared in Yan Chaozong's office. This building was the property of the Yan family. However, this was not the headquarters of the Yan family's company, it was just one of the subsidiaries. Yan Chaozong was the chairman. He was currently the first in the succession sequence of the Yan family. The others were not as good as him. Although Yan Chaozong's father did not have a high position in the family, the old master had high hopes for Yan Chaozong. Young master, are you looking for us? The middle-aged man and the young junior came in and stood not far away. He asked respectfully. Yan Chaozong turned his head and stared at the middle-aged man who went to look for Qin Shing last night. Uncle Zhen, did you expose your identity yesterday? No, I only chatted with him for a while and left. However, this young man is very confident. I really don't know if he really has a powerful background or is it just empty talk, the middle-aged man who was called Uncle Zhen said softly. Yan Chaozong laughed coldly. I don't know about other things, but in terms of personal strength, this man is indeed not simple. He is the Tiger Man who killed Third Master Wu's favorite general. He might also be the mastermind behind the death of Zhao Dongxing and Zhou Wenwu. No wonder, Uncle Zhen said in shock. Young master, if this is really the case, I think we have to investigate further. Find out his identity and background before choosing how to deal with him. Don't let us be at a disadvantage? Uncle Jean reminded subconsciously. Although the Yen family was very powerful, compared to the big families in Siju City, the Yen family was really nothing. He might be a junior of some family. Yen Chaozong said disapprovingly, "Don't worry. I've already asked Feng He to investigate everything that needs to be investigated. After confirming it repeatedly, I'll let you go to him." "Young master, what do you think we should do?" Uncle Jin frowned and said. Yen Chaozong glanced at Feng He, who was beside him. It was obvious that he was asking for his opinion. Feng He was brave and resourceful. He did things in a meticulous manner. More importantly, he was cruel and merciless. He was also very important to the Yen family, which was why Yen Chaozong focused on training him. Feng He thought for a while and said, "Young master, to be honest, this matter is a little difficult to handle. Firstly, this Qin Xing is not a good person. I always feel that something is wrong. He is a character without any background. How did he get to know Han Guoping? How did he get to know Jiang Xianbang? What's more, he was chosen by Jiang Xianbang. It's understandable that he knew Xue Qinyan. However, to be able to be so close to Miss Xue, doesn't he have some skills? Secondly, this man is definitely a ruthless character. However, he is also very cautious. For example, when he was dealing with Yang Deng, he did not kill him. However, when he was dealing with Zhao Dongxing and Zhou Wenwu, he eliminated them completely. He did it in such a way that no one knew about it. Lastly, there's your relationship with Miss Lin. If young master touches him, will it cause Miss Lin to feel conflicted? By then, it will affect your relationship." After Feng He finished speaking, Yen Chaozong nodded his head in satisfaction. Feng He was indeed very thoughtful. He had also voiced out all his doubts. Yen Chaozong was most worried about the first and third points. The second point was not much of a threat. Uncle Jean also agreed. Feng He is right. "Young master, you have to think about it. Feng He, go to Xi'an again. Find out his background in Xi'an, including his grandfather and the situation of his foster parents' family. Uncle Jean, help me keep an eye on him. Also, help me find out what's going on with Jiang Xianbang. Let him run wild for a few days first," Yen Chaozong arranged after careful consideration. Uncle Jean asked, 3 days later, "Do I still need to look for him?" "No need, there's no hurry. In a while, if he really challenges my bottom line, I'll destroy him." Yen Chaozong punched the table. Over at Shangshan Ruoshui, Qin Xing had not realized that danger was approaching. He was chatting happily with Zhao Zishi. Zhao Zishi's impression of Qin Xing deepened. Jiang Xianbang had helped him a few times. Hence, Zhao Zishi did not keep his distance from Jiang Xianbang just because something happened to him. Most of the time, he was not willing to do the icing on the cake. He was more willing to help in times of need. In this way, the smallest investment could be exchanged for the biggest return. He was not the icing on the cake, which had always been wasted. "Brother Zhao, when are you free? Let's meet up and have a good drink." Zhao Zishi was preparing to leave. Qin Xing left a good excuse for the next meeting. Zhao Zishi did not reject and replied, "I know that your alcohol tolerance is not bad. I guess I'm not your opponent. However, I can drink a little. If I really get drunk, I think I'll have to kneel on the washboard when I get home." Qin Xing laughed and said, "I didn't expect Brother Zhao to be a henpecked man. Sometimes, a successful career does not necessarily mean a happy family. I want to have the best of both worlds." Zhao Zishi patted Qin Xing's shoulder and said, "All right, let's not talk anymore. I have to go." Qin Xing sent Zhao Zishi away from Shangshan Ruoshui. When he returned to his office and sat down, Yu Fengji pushed the door open and entered. She asked curiously, "What does this man do? He has quite a temperament." "Why? You're in love. Do you want me to introduce you?" Qin Xing looked up and smiled. Yu Fengji snorted, "If you're willing, I don't mind." Qin Sheng stood up and walked in front of Yu Fengji. He pressed her directly against the door and sneered, "Have you forgotten your identity?" Yu Fengji was a little nervous. To her, Qin Sheng was like Pandora's box. She was afraid, curious, and wanted to approach him step by step. Qin Sheng looked Yu Fengji up and down. He gently stroked Yu Fengji's hair and said with a smirk, "I'm thinking about when to take you down, an ice beauty. After all, when a flower blooms, it must be plucked straight. Don't wait until there are no flowers." Yu Fengji's face was expressionless. She could not say, "Come on, master." That was not her style. But she knew that when she chose to surrender to Qin Sheng, it was only a matter of time. Qin Sheng liked Yu Fengji's cold demeanor the most. The more she behaved like this, the more he wanted to conquer her. So suddenly, without any warning, Qin Sheng directly kissed Yu Fengji's tender and beautiful lip. Yu Fengji was stunned. She opened her eyes wide and was at a loss. She did not expect Qin Sheng to be so unscrupulous in the office. She just bit her lips subconsciously. Women needed to be nourished by men, and men also needed to be nourished by women. Qin Sheng had not felt the taste of kissing for some time. But after all, he was a man who had been in love and had a few relationships. He still had the skills to break through Yu Fengji's teeth. So Qin Sheng's idle hands directly climbed up Yu Fengji's soft breasts and moved his hands without any scruples. The softness there made Qin Sheng a little excited. After all, Yu Fengji was a woman, and a woman's body was naturally sensitive. She just let out a moan and opened her tightly clenched teeth. Therefore, Qin Sheng's tongue went straight in, unscrupulously enjoying his spoils of war. Yu Fengji wanted to push Qin Sheng away, but she did not have the strength at all. After a little resistance, she completely accepted her fate. She closed her eyes and let Qin Sheng take advantage of her. This kiss made Yu Fengji a little confused. It was not until Qin Sheng's hands left her breasts and went straight to her most secret place from her thighs that Yu Fengji came back to her senses. She did not know where she got the strength from, but she pushed Qin Sheng away. "Not here," Yu Fengji said in a panic. She regretted saying this as soon as she said it. The other meaning of this sentence seemed to be tacitly approving of Qin Sheng's behavior, and also tacitly approving of his further development in the future. Qin Sheng said calmly, "That's true, this place is really not suitable. Anyway, I have the key to your house, I don't care about this for a while." Yu Fengji stared at Qin Sheng fiercely, but it also looked like a flirting couple. She was afraid that if she stayed here, Qin Sheng would go wild and do something to her. She quickly tidied up her clothes and ran away. In the afternoon, Qin Sheng invited Xue Qinyan to have dinner with him and brought Xue Hao along. Originally, Qin Sheng wanted to tutor Xue Hao, but he was too busy during this period, so he gave up. The place for dinner was near Xue Qinyan's neighborhood. It was an old hot pot restaurant in Chongqing. It was the most suitable place to eat hot pot in winter. Not long after Qin Sheng arrived, Xue Qinyan brought Xue Hao over. "Sister, this is for you. I brought it back from Xi'an a few days ago." Qin Sheng picked up the bag beside him and handed it to Xue Qinyan. It was a souvenir from Xi'an. It was a small gift, but it was also a token of my appreciation. Xue Qinyan took the bag and sat down. She chuckled and said, "Yo, I didn't expect you to still remember me." "How could I forget you, sister?" Qin Sheng said cheerfully. Xue Hao frowned and said, "Hold on, aunt. What's wrong? Qin Sheng called you sister, isn't he bullying me? I have to call him uncle. This can't be, I'm at a disadvantage." Qin Sheng and Xue Qinyan were surprised when they heard this. How could they have thought of this? Ha 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 ha. Xue Qinyan could not help but cover her mouth and laugh. She wanted to see how Qin Sheng would deal with Xue Hao. Qin Sheng smiled cheekily and said indifferently, "It's your own business. Why do you have so much nonsense? If you put your effort into studying, let alone Tsinghua University, even Harvard and Yale would be a piece of cake." Xue Hao was about to refute, but Qin Sheng stared at him fiercely, hinting that if he dared to say another word, he would tell his aunt about his puppy love. Let's see if she would punish him. Xue Hao was really calm. After the pot was opened, the three of them chatted while eating. Qin Sheng always had a way to make Xue Qinyan laugh. Anyway, he had a way to deal with women. Xue Qinyan listened to Qin Sheng's jokes and anecdotes. Chapter 140. A birthday gift, asking for monthly votes? Give me some monthly votes. Qin Sheng and Xue Qingyan's relationship could go this far because Qin Sheng treated her with sincerity. Secondly, Qin Sheng never dropped the ball at critical moments. Thirdly, Qin Sheng was indeed capable in all aspects, which was why Xue Qinyan valued him so much. In the beginning, Qin Sheng was a little bit of a man's interest in Xue Qinyan. However, he knew that such a woman was not something he could get. At least based on his current status, it was like a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. Later on, he became familiar with Xue Qinyan and treated her as his sister. After all, Xue Qinyan was very concerned about him. Whether it was his life or his career, she would always help him. Qin Sheng would smile even in his dreams to have such a sister. So when he heard Xue Hao say such words, Qin Sheng covered his mouth and said, "What the f***ck, lower your voice. Don't let your aunt hear you. What do you mean by I want to be your uncle? Do you think a loser like me is good enough for your aunt?" "Ha ha ha ha," Xue Hao laughed unscrupulously and said, "Can't you be a little more mature? Look at how scared you are. I'm just saying, if you want to be my uncle, even if my aunt agrees, my family will never agree." "I know my place," Qin Sheng said disdainfully. Xue Hao looked back at his aunt, who was still talking on the phone in the distance. He then lowered his voice and said, "Qin Sheng, but I feel that my aunt likes you a little. At least she has a good impression of you. Are you really not interested? Get lost. Don't set me up." Qin Sheng pushed Xue Hao away. Xue Hao rolled his eyes and said, "Tsk, what are you afraid of? My family will not agree. I support you. My aunt is already so old. If she doesn't get married soon, my family will go crazy. Who she loves has nothing to do with me." Qin Sheng quickly drew the line. He knew that some things could not be crossed. If he crossed the line, he would not be able to be friends anymore. He had already offended young Master Yen by pursuing Lin Su. If he were to have an ambiguous relationship with Xue Qinyan, he would offend many people. Xue Qinyan was not like Lin Su. At this time, Xue Qinyan came back after the phone call. She looked playful. "What were you two whispering about just now? Why did you keep peeking at me?" "It's nothing, Auntie. We all say that you're the prettiest girl in the hot pot restaurant today. Look at those men's eyes. They're practically drooling," Xue Hao said flatteringly. Ever since he arrived in Shanghai, he had been away from his parents more often than not. Most of the time, he was with his aunt. However, his aunt did not treat him like an elder, but more like a sister and a brother. Xue Qinyan enjoyed Qin Sheng's words very much. However, Xue Qinyan still scolded, "Don't talk nonsense. You learned it from Qin Sheng. Hurry up and eat. I'll send you back after eating." Is this called getting shot while lying down? Qin Sheng just picked up a piece of tripe and said with a speechless look. After eating hot pot, Qin Sheng drove Xue Qingyan's Range Rover and sent Xue Hao to the Shanghai concert hall. His mother was waiting there. When they arrived, Qin Sheng did not get out of the car. Xue Qinyan brought Xue Hao there. After a few minutes, Xue Qinyan came back. After getting in the car, Xue Qinyan smiled and said, "Do you want to find a place to drink?" If a woman trusted a man, she would choose to drink alone with him, let alone a beauty. Qin Sheng was confused. "Sister, what's wrong with you today? Are you in a good or bad mood? What do you think?" Xue Qinyan turned her head and smiled. Qin Sheng shook his head and smiled bitterly. "I don't know. How would I know? What kind of vulgar woman do you think I am?" Xue Qinyan laughed. "Stop guessing. I'm in a good mood. It's still early and I have nothing to do back home. Let's find a place to drink and listen to music. What about the car? Qin Sheng naturally had to satisfy Xue Qingyan's request. Leave it there, or find a designated driver, Xue Qingyan said casually. Xue Qingyan had a place that she frequented, which was also on Hengshan Road. The bar was not big or small, but there were already many people there. Xue Qingyan said that it was opened by a friend and she would come here occasionally. There was still wine here. Qin Sheng asked what good wine they had and Xue Qingyan said that it was the best whiskey and red wine. She even specifically said that it was for herself. Qin Sheng was speechless again. He could understand that red wine was suitable for Xue Qingyan. But what the hell was this whiskey? He was not used to this kind of strong wine. However, Xue Qingyan planned to drink some red wine tonight. She chose a seat with Qin Sheng and listened to the original songs of the resident band. Not long after, the manager came to greet them. The flattering look on his face made Qin Sheng feel disgusted. Fortunately, he left after a glass of wine. Sister, I talked to old Jiang on the phone last night. Qin Sheng took the initiative to talk about it. He wanted to know Xue Qingyan's attitude. Xue Qingyan nibbled on the watermelon and said softly, "How is old Jiang over there?" "It's good over there. But it seems that old Jiang is planning to withdraw from the country. I was wondering why Manager Su did not show up at all. It turns out that he is helping old Jiang to deal with his assets," Qin Sheng sighed and said. Xue Qingyan was not surprised. In the past 2 years, many people had gotten into trouble. There were many who were more powerful than Jiang Xianbang. Jiang Xianbang was not the first or the second. The anti-corruption force was unprecedentedly strong. Any big shot with original sin could be dug up. But Jiang Xianbang was fine. The tree behind him was thicker. At least it would not be reached in a short time. Otherwise, he would have been in jail long ago. How could he be free in Hong Kong? It's not a bad thing to prepare for a rainy day. Take the opportunity now. When the storm comes, you can't leave even if you want to, Xue Qingyan said with a faint smile. Qin Sheng continued, "So Shangshan Ruoxue is also being dealt with. I have asked him. I don't know if you are interested." Xue Qingyan stopped smiling and hesitated. After a while, she said, "I have to think about it. After all, this is not a small amount. Even if I take over, I don't have time to take care of it. But I can ask my friends around me to see if they are interested. This is also beneficial to you." To be honest, Qin Sheng was a little disappointed. He had high hopes for Xue Qingyan. He wanted to stay in Shangshan Ruoxue and climb up step by step. Then he would manage his own network and lay a solid foundation for future development. But he could also understand. Even if he and Xue Qingyan were very close, it was not to the point where Xue Qingyan would spend a lot of money. This was not a small amount. Moreover, Jiang Xianbang also said that Xue Qingyan's identity was a little special. She had to think about the people behind her. Just as Qin Sheng said, if it was someone else, Xue Qingyan might refuse immediately. But for Qin Sheng, Xue Qingyan still planned to work hard. "Sister, I understand what you mean," Qin Sheng said with a smile. Xue Qingyan comforted him. "Shanghai is so big. If you leave Shangshan Ruoxue, there will be better places for you to develop. Don't think so much." Qin Sheng nodded. At this time, the resident singer had left. Qin Sheng suddenly had a whim and said, "Sister, do you want to hear me sing? How about it? If it's not good, you pay the bill tonight," Xue Qingyan said with a smile. Qin Sheng did not say much. He directly found the manager. After a few words, the manager readily agreed. So Qin Sheng went on the stage. After talking with several band members, he chose a song called Zhang Chu's Sister. Then he stood in front of the microphone and pointed at Xue Qingyan. He smiled and said, "A song called Zhang Chu's Sister, for my most beautiful sister." Xue Qingyan thought that Qin Sheng was joking. She did not expect that Qin Shing would really go on the stage to sing. Looking at his posture, it was obvious that he was serious. Hearing Qin Shing's words, all the guests present looked at Xue Qinyan. They did not expect that this guy's sister was really a beautiful woman. Xue Qinyan was very embarrassed and lowered her head. The prelude ended. Qin Shing began to sing. This winter, the snow is not falling, standing on the road without blinking, my heartbeat is still gentle, you should give me credit for being good today. My dress is a little too big. You said I looked weird. I know I'm standing in a crowd. Pretty silly. Oh. Elder sister, I wanna go home. Hold my hand. I'm a little sleepy. Oh. Elder sister, take me home. Hold my hand. You don't have to be scared. I'm a little sleepy. The three heroes of the Devil Cliff, Do Wei, Zhang Chu, and He Yong, were the first few big shots of the domestic rock and roll industry. Their concert at Hung Hom in Hong Kong was unparalleled in the limelight. However, in the end, the three of them became immortals, silly and crazy, which made people sigh. Qin Shing liked the beginning and the end of his sister's lyric. He didn't feel much about the lyrics in the middle, so when he sang it to Xue Qingyao, he changed it slightly. When he reached the last part of the song, Qin Shing looked at Xue Qinyan with great sincerity. His voice was full of vicissitudes. Whether it was a folk song or a rock song, he could always sing with his own style. Xue Qinyan was more or less moved. She thought of something inexplicably, and her eyes turned red unconsciously. When the song ended, the whole audience applauded. Qin Shing was already used to this kind of occasion. Xue Qinyan also clapped with her mouth closed. Qin Shing bowed and got off the stage. After returning to Xue Qinyan's side, Qin Shing saw that Xue Qinyan's eyes were red. He was confused and asked, "Elder sister, what's wrong?" "Nothing, I'm just touched," Xue Qinyan said casually. After staying in the bar for less than half an hour, Qin Shing and Xue Qinyan took a taxi home. Qin Shing took the key with him. He would send the car to Xue Qinyan's company tomorrow. In the next few days, Qin Shing was quite busy. However, there was one thing that bothered him. When Lin Su called him, she asked him in advance if he was free next Thursday night. Qin Shing thought that there were still a few days left, so he said that he didn't know. Lin Su didn't say anything. After hanging up the phone, Qin Shing kept feeling that something was not right. He lit up a cigarette and racked his brains to think. Suddenly, he thought that it might be Lin Su's birthday. He remembered that when they got a room outside, he saw Lin Su's ID card. Her birthday seemed to be December, so Qin Shing checked on his phone. He didn't expect that it was really Lin Su's birthday. It was Lin Su's birthday. What should he give her? Qin Shing was stumped. After all, Lin Su didn't lack any material things. Moreover, he couldn't afford it if it was too expensive. Chapter 141. Chapter 141. A chance encounter. Don't be stingy, give me some. If you have any opinions about this book or are not satisfied with the plot, you can leave a comment in the book review or circle. Thank you. Even if some people tried to keep a low profile, they could not hide their existence in the crowd. Just like when Qin Shing first met Lin Su, he saw Lin Su sitting in the corner and listening to music the moment he entered the bar. During that period of time, they traveled together and visited most of the places in southwest Sichuan. During that period of time, they experienced many things, such as getting lost in the primeval forest, being chased by the Aborigines because of a small conflict, encountering heavy rain and mudslides, etc. They already had a good impression of each other at that time, but Lin Su and Qin Shing were both proud people. Qin Shing did not have time to think about these at that time. Lin Su, on the other hand, restrained her inner feelings because she did not know Qin Shing well. That was why they made the final parting promise. Maybe they believed in fate more. Shangshan Ruoshui seemed to be peaceful, but only a few people knew that there might be turbulence behind it. If it really passed to someone else, everyone knew that there would be a cleansing and reorganization. Today, after Qin Sheng got off work, he did not rush to the gym. Instead, he went to the bookstore. Unexpectedly, other than Xiao Lu, the other two were not there. After asking, he found out that they had taken leave for something. Anyway, this small shop did not have much business. They were all repeat customers. Xiao Lu could take care of it alone. "Do whatever you want, I won't bother you," Xiao Lu sat at the cashier and said casually after greeting Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng was already very familiar with this place. Every time he came to the bookstore, he felt that time passed very quickly. He poured a glass of water, took a small stool and sat under the bookshelf, casually flipping through those old books. His favorite seller still did not send any books recently, which made Qin Sheng somewhat disappointed. Recently, Qin Sheng had taken a liking to reading historical books. It was wise to learn from the past and learn from the future by reading history. Other than those official and unofficial histories, Qin Sheng's favorite author of modern history was none other than old man Su Shu Qianmu. He could be said to be a generation's master of Chinese history. His book, The Gains and Losses of China's Past Dynasties, was highly praised by many people. There was also The Outline of National History, The Years of the Scholars of the Pre-Qin Dynasty, and so on. He could be considered to be a truly talented and knowledgeable person. It was very obvious that this bosom friend, whom he had never met before, liked Qianmu quite a lot. There were too many annotations on the book, The Gains and Losses of China's Past Dynasties. For example, there was a sentence that said, "Talking about history can make people not be arbitrary. This is because things are too complicated. The pros and cons will only be seen after a long time. They are all laid out in history." This time, Qin Sheng found a book called 16 Lectures on National History. However, it was empty. Qin Sheng was fascinated by it. After an unknown period of time, Qin Sheng raised his head and intended to stretch his muscles and bones. After doing this for so long, he felt a little uncomfortable. After getting up, he realized that a man was standing beside him and staring at him with a smile on his face. Qin Sheng didn't know when he had done this. The man looked ordinary and was not tall. He was about 1.7 meters tall. He wore a pair of round iron-rimmed glasses and was dressed very well. He wore a woolen coat outside his suit and held a scarf in his hand. There is something that was formed from chaos. It was born from heaven and earth. It was lonely and sparse. It was independent and did not change. It was circular and did not perish. Could be the mother of the world. The man muttered to himself, "Young man, it seems like you like to read history books." The man used the word read instead of look. This word was very particular. A scholar was a scholar. Reading a book had a different meaning. The man looked like he was not even 40 years old. It was a little strange for him to call Qin Sheng a young man. However, Qin Sheng still asked politely, "Have you also read this book called 16 Lectures on National History?" The trajectory of history is always the same. It is very difficult for humans to make breakthroughs in their thinking. Therefore, reading more history books, no matter in life or work, is beneficial, the man said slowly. Then, he looked up and smiled. The essence of feudalism is to divide land and people. The characteristics of the rural commune is that the land is shared, production is shared, and consumption is shared. Coupled with the original text, it was obvious that this man had read this book. At this moment, Xiao Lu ran over with a glass of water and handed it to the man. At the same time, he smiled politely and said, "Mr. Song, please have some water. He is the Qin Sheng that I told you about." "You are?" Qin Sheng was a little confused. Mr. Song pushed his glasses and replied, "Xiao Lu said that you bought all my books. Naturally, I have to come and see what kind of person the buyer is. Otherwise, my books will be in trouble." Qin Sheng suddenly understood. He quickly bowed slightly and said, You are Mr. Huang Pu? I am not talented, I do not deserve to be called Mr. Song. You can just call me Brother Song. Mr. Song was very humble. Mr. Huang Pu was a nickname he gave himself. Every book had the words Mr. Huang Pu on the title page. Finally meeting his idol, Qin Sheng was a little at a loss. It was like a small fan meeting a big star. He really admired this man. He did not expect to finally meet him today. Qin Sheng did not know what to say. He could only move the stool over and said with a silly smile, "Please sit. It is rare that someone likes my books. I have met a soulmate. You don't have to be so polite and don't be too nervous. I am just an ordinary person. I am not as mysterious as you think. Just treat me as a friend." Brother Song laughed. Xiao Lu, who was beside him, covered his mouth and laughed so hard that he bent over. It was rare to see Qin Sheng like this, he was really too cute. Qin Sheng laughed and said, "Brother Song, I really like your books. The comments in your books are very special, they opened up a lot of ideas for me. I have nothing to do, so I just drew some murals. As long as you think it is useful." Brother Song smiled politely. The more Brother Song acted like this, the more Qin Sheng felt that Brother Song was someone important. He took the initiative to invite him. "Brother Song, why don't we find a place to sit?" Brother Song frowned slightly and hesitated. After a while, he said, "Next time. I have something to do today and came here on the way. I did not expect to meet you. I will leave you my phone number. If you are interested, you can come and talk to me." "All right, I will listen to you," Qin Sheng said excitedly. Brother Song told Qin Sheng his phone number and said, "If you like my books, come to my house another day. I have a lot of old books that I want to deal with. You can choose what you like." "That is great." To Qin Sheng, this news was like a pie falling from the sky. He quickly thanked him. Brother Song stood up slowly and said a few words with a smile. He then left. Qin Sheng walked Brother Song to the door before entering. After entering, Xiao Lu came up to him and said, "Mr. Song is a good person. He is a good friend of our boss." "Ha ha ha ha, I am so happy today. I did not expect to see Brother Song." Qin Sheng did not listen to Xiao Lu at all. He hugged Xiao Lu and shouted. Xiao Lu exclaimed and hugged Qin Sheng tightly. Qin Sheng then realized that he had lost his composure. He quickly put Xiao Lu down and said awkwardly, Sorry. I was too excited." "Good boy." Xiao Lu blushed and said coquettishly. After staying in the bookstore for a while, Qin Sheng returned to Shilin Huayuan to change his clothes and go to the gym. But when he came out of the neighborhood, he met an uninvited guest. This uninvited guest was his first girlfriend, Su Qin. Su Qin was driving a petite BMW Mini. She had been sitting in the car the whole time. It was not until Qin Sheng came out that she got out of the car and walked towards Qin Sheng slowly. Su Qin, who was thin in the first place, was wearing thin clothes. It seemed that she could not withstand the biting cold wind at all. "Why are you here?" Qin Sheng frowned. Su Qin shook her head and smiled bitterly. "Can't I look for you? If we can't be lovers, can't we even be friends?" "That's not what I meant." Qin Sheng quickly shook his head. As he said, Su Qin had her own life. Qin Sheng did not want to break Su Qin's already peaceful life because of his appearance. So after returning to Shanghai, Qin Sheng did not take the initiative to look for Su Qin. He did not know that the owner of Young Bar was Su Qin. Su Qin took the initiative to invite him. "Let's find a place to sit?" After Su Qin finished speaking, she turned around and got into the car without waiting for Qin Sheng's reply. Qin Sheng hesitated for a moment and finally nodded. He followed Su Qin into the car and left. After the BMW Mini left, a red Maserati on the opposite side of the street drove into Jinlin Huayuan. This was Han Bing's car. The driver was naturally Hao Lei. But Han Bing was also sitting in the back and witnessed the scene at the door. Han Bing was a little jealous. "Hao Lei, do you know that woman?" Hao Lei did not know whether he should say it or not. With such a hesitation, Han Bing naturally knew the answer. She smiled bitterly and said, "I'm just asking." Qin Sheng's first love, Su Qin. After thinking about it, Hao Lei still told Han Bing. He also knew that today was such a coincidence. Qin Sheng and Su Qin did not contact each other. Why would she come to look for Qin Sheng? What was more speechless was that Han Bing saw it. This was King troublesome. Han Bing said faintly, "She is quite beautiful. Is she also from Xi'an?" "Yes, we are all high school classmates," Hao Lei replied. "I did not expect Qin Sheng to have such a beautiful first love. I really underestimated him. Is she also in Shanghai?" Han Bing continued to ask. She was more concerned about everything about Qin Sheng, not to mention that Qin Sheng's first love had appeared. Hao Lei nodded and said, "Yes, but they have already separated. Don't think too much about it. Maybe they are just old friends catching up." "What can I think too much about?" Han Bing curled her lips and snorted. "He is not here anymore. I won't go in. Send me back." Chapter 142. Disappear again, begging for monthly votes, begging for collection. Su Qin took Qin Sheng straight to the Bund. She remembered that on the first day they had arrived in Shanghai, she had accompanied Qin Sheng to the Bund. They had walked hand in hand for 2 hours. Qin Sheng was so excited that he even shouted at the Huangpu River, "Shanghai, I'm coming." Su Qin also did not feel tired. Perhaps it was because she was accompanying the man she loved the most. For them, the life at that time was full of longing. They had imagined the future and sighed with emotion. Unfortunately, they could not be together in the end. After parking the car, the two strolled along the Huangpu River at the Bund. Even though it was a winter night, no matter how cold the wind was, the Bund would never lack tourists. It was unknown how many men came here to pursue their dreams, and it was unknown how many people's lives had changed at this moment. "I heard from Hao Lei that you went back to Xi'an on New Year's Day?" The cold wind blew Su Qin's hair, making it flutter in the wind. However, it was somewhat messy and beautiful. She only wore a turtleneck sweater and a gray woolen coat. The weather was somewhat cold. Qin Sheng nodded silently as he said, "Yes, Auntie Wang celebrated her birthday on New Year's Day. Xin and I went back to accompany her." "How is Auntie Wang? How is Uncle Lin? I haven't seen them for a long time." Su Qin lowered her head slightly, stroked her hair, and smiled. When she smiled, there were 2 charming dimples. In high school, many boys wanted to make Su Qin smile, but no matter how hard they tried, they could not compare to Qin Sheng's look. Qin Sheng took a deep breath to make himself look more natural and casual. He replied, "They're all good. Thank you for taking care of them for me when I was away, especially Xin. I heard from her that you often visited her." Su Qin said lightly, "There is no need to thank me. They are also my friends. These are what I should do. I also regard Xin as my younger sister." Qin Sheng smiled bitterly as he said, "No matter what, I still have to thank you. If you really want to thank me, you can invite me to dinner another day," Su Qin said with a smile. Obviously, she could not let go of Qin Sheng. If she really let go of him and did not disturb him, that would be the best way to get along. However, after all, they had been in a relationship for 6 years. It was not easy to let go of a mere 11 paintings. Qin Sheng agreed directly, "No problem. You can eat whatever you want." Su Qin was a little surprised as she said, "I thought you would refuse." Qin Sheng laughed and said, "Why should I refuse? I don't know how many men want to treat you to a meal. It is my honor." "Don't say that. I don't like it," Su Qin said a little angrily. If it was another man who said that, Su Qin would not think much of it. However, the man in front of her was Qin Sheng. She and Qin Sheng used to be intimate lovers. They had done everything together. Qin Sheng said that to distance himself from her. Qin Shing did not notice it at all. He just said that subconsciously. He quickly said, "I'm sorry. Qin Shing, I feel that you are always running away from me. Are you unwilling to face me, or do you hate me in your heart and still resent me for breaking up with you?" Su Qin asked. Today, she came to Qin Shing because she wanted to make a lot of things clear. Qin Shing shook his head and said, "No. What's there to hate? Everything has passed. I accept everything that happened. You have your own life. I don't want to disturb your peaceful life because of my appearance." "Haha, is that so?" Su Qin smiled bitterly and said, "But your appearance has already disturbed my life. Qin Shing, I regret being impulsive at that time. I regret that I was not by your side when you needed me the most. I often think of these things and blame myself all the time. In the past 2 years, I have been looking for you all the time, but there is no news of you. Do you know how much I miss you, Qin Sheng?" In the end, Su Qin's eyes were red. Yes, she could not let go of Qin Sheng. She really could not let go of the feelings of 6 years. If she could let go, she would not have been single for more than 2 years. Otherwise, she might have married and had children. After all, there were many men chasing after her. "Su Qin, don't say these things. You are a good girl. I thank God for letting me have you," Qin Sheng said very sincerely. Su Qin said stubbornly, "I want to ask you, in the past 2 years, have you ever missed me?" "I have. In the beginning, I missed you all the time. But I told myself that we have broken up and you should have your own happiness. My road has just begun. I don't know what I have to experience. So I told myself to let go," Qin Sheng said honestly. People were not saints. Who could forget a woman who had been in love with him for 6 years at once? However, time was an omnipotent antidote. No matter how unforgettable the love was, it would eventually be completely worn away by time. Gradually, it would fade away. Su Qin said with some heartache, "So you really let go like this?" Qin Sheng did not know what to say. He did not want to hurt Su Qin's heart. After all, she was the woman he used to love deeply. Even if she cried, Qin Sheng would feel sorry for her. Su Qin gritted her teeth and said, "I know." Qin Sheng's silence was the answer. But she was not willing to give up like this. She put down her dignity and said, "But I can't. Why can't I let go? Qin Sheng, I still love you deeply. I want to go back to the previous life. I want us to start again." After saying that, Su Qin directly hugged Qin Sheng. This hug melted Qin Sheng's heart. It used to be such a familiar feeling, but now it was so strange. This was also the first time that Su Qin had directly expressed the love in her heart. Qin Sheng was very shocked. At that time, he really thought that Su Qin did not love him anymore, so she broke up with him. He had some resentment in his heart. Later, he felt relieved and felt that it was nothing. No matter who talked about the past, he would defend Su Qin. But until this moment, he understood Su Qin's heart. She really still loved him. If Qin Sheng had not met Lin Su, he might have been able to reconcile with Su Qin. Unfortunately, there were no ifs. He met Lin Su and let go of Su Qin at that time. Now, Lin Su was more in his heart. He was not willing to lie to Su Qin. He made up his mind and said, "Su Qin, thank you for still loving me. But I already have someone I love. I'm sorry." Upon hearing this, Su Qin felt like being struck by 5 thunders. The last hope in her heart completely collapsed. She slowly pushed Qin Sheng away and stared at him with a look of disbelief. Her tears flowed down. In such a temperature, they were like 2 ice knives. Su Qin just stared at Qin Sheng like this. It was unknown how long she had stared at him. She laughed at herself and slowly turned around to leave. After taking a few steps, she suddenly collapsed. She squatted on the ground and cried bitterly with her head in her arms. The sound of her crying was heartbreaking. Seeing Su Qin like this, Qin Sheng felt like his heart was being cut by a knife. He really wanted to slap himself and scold, "You are AF** king scum. How can you bear to let the woman you used to love deeply, the woman who still loves you deeply, be like this? You once said that you would accompany her to old age. You once said that you would protect her forever. Are all your words bullsh*t? Qin Shing could not stand it anymore. He ran over in a hurry and directly held Su Qin in his arms. He let her cry bitterly in his arms. No matter what would happen in the future, at least at this moment, he would protect Su Qin. After a long time, Su Qin finally cried enough. Qin Shing's arms were still so warm. She did not want to think about anything. She just wanted time to stop at this moment, so that he could cherish a few more seconds. Finally, after the lights on both sides of the Huangpu River gradually dimmed, Qin Shing said softly, "Let me send you back." "Okay." Su Qin rubbed against Qin Shing's chest and nodded slightly. Qin Shing held Su Qin in his arms until they got in the car. Qin Shing drove and Su Qin sat in the passenger seat. Qin Shing took the initiative to help her fasten the seatbelt. Along the way, Su Qin looked at Qin Shing quietly. Her eyes could melt the snow in winter. Finally, Qin Shing sent her to the door. At the door, Qin Shing said calmly, "Have a good sleep. Everything will be fine. As long as you want, we are still friends. As long as you need, I can appear in front of you at any time." "Really?" Su Qin said softly. Qin Shing nodded heavily and said, "Really? Good night." After that, Qin Shing closed the door and left happily. Su Qin, who was behind the door, smiled. Wang Feng sang in the song, "Dream is nothing. Love is nothing. After all, life has to go on without these things." Therefore, Qin Shing, who was busy with work, had forgotten what happened last night. After finishing the day's work, Qin Shing asked Mizan for leave again. He said that he was going to go out of town. Although Mizan felt uncomfortable, she could only agree. But she still complained about Qin Shing. After thinking about it, there were not many guests during this period, so it was okay to ask for leave. Qin Shing returned to Shilin Huayuan. After packing up his things, he went straight to the airport. He did not inform anyone. He had already bought the ticket yesterday. His phone was turned off and Qin Shing disappeared completely. This made everyone very confused. They all thought that something had happened to Qin Shing, including Lin Su, who was about to celebrate her birthday. Lin Su was a little anxious. She could not contact Qin Shing no matter how hard she tried. She did not know where Qin Shing lived or where he worked. After midnight, it was another birthday. Lin Su's phone began to be bombarded. It was like this every year at this time. She was used to it. In the past, she would directly turn off her phone and wait until the next day to reply others. But this year, she did not, because she was waiting for Qin Shing to say happy birthday to her. Unfortunately, Lin Su waited until midnight, but there was no news from Qin Shing. Finally, Lin Su called Qin Shing again, but his phone was still turned off. That night, Lin Su did not sleep well. She was in a bad mood. When she got up the next morning and opened her eyes, she picked up her phone to see if there was any call or message from Qin Shing. But there was still no message. Although it was her birthday today, Lin Su did not give herself a holiday. She went to the company early, wanting to see the white rose on the office table. Unfortunately, she did not see it today. Lin Su was very disappointed. The day passed in a busy work. At noon, her colleagues in the company held a simple birthday party for her. They bought cakes and gifts and so on. Lin Su's mood was finally eased. Just after work in the afternoon, Yan Chaozong came to pick Lin Su up. Lin Su's birthday party was personally organized by him. Many of their relatives and friends were invited. Lin Su originally wanted to reject, but in the end, she agreed. This was because she wanted to announce a piece of news today, but it was useless now. Chapter 143. A perfect couple, begging for monthly votes, begging for collection. The ancestors of the Yen and Lin families were both Zhejiang businessmen. They became business partners at the end of the Qing dynasty. During the Republic of China, the Jiangsu and Zhejiang businessmen made use of their financial advantages in the business and political arena. Although the Yan and Lin families were not the kind of big families that were the leaders, they became the big winners in this wave of the times. The Yan family entered Shanghai early on and had been taking root here. The Lin family, on the other hand, was deeply rooted in Zhejiang, with Ningbo as their base camp. Although they suffered a devastating blow during the turbulent times, they had a wide range of connections. In addition, many of their branches had already established a foothold abroad. Hence, after the reform and opening up, the two families quickly stood up again. However, in Shanghai, which was at the forefront of the reform and opening up, the Yan family became more and more powerful. In comparison, the Lin family paled in comparison. Hence, the Lin family was quite satisfied with the marriage this time. The marriage between the most outstanding descendants of both families was the most satisfying marriage for both families. Although Lin Su did not admit it, Yan Chaozong had long treated Lin Su as his fiancée. Hence, he was the one who organized the birthday party this year. He gathered the young people of the same generation of both families together and many of their mutual friends. Yan Chaozong naturally knew the intention of doing this. It was to satisfy the desire of the younger generation of the Lin family to interact with the Yan family. This way, not only would the younger generation be satisfied, but the elders would also appreciate it. This was his way of doing things. A simple birthday party with many reasons. However, this was precisely what Lin Su did not like. For many things, Lin Su preferred the simpler the better. There was no need to be too complicated or mixed with other meanings. A birthday with a bouquet of flowers, a meal, a birthday cake, and a happy birthday was enough. Yan Chaozong booked a medium-sized banquet hall in the Peninsula Hotel. At this time, the relatives and friends of both families had already arrived. They were all young people. Yan Chaozong did not invite the elders so that they would not be able to relax. On the way to the Peninsula Hotel, Lin Su was still very depressed. She was thinking about what Qin Xing had done. She had specially asked Qin Xing if he had anything to do today. Qin Xing also said that he was fine. Why did he suddenly disappear? Could it be that Qin Xing met with danger or went on a business trip? With their current relationship, even if Qin Xing went on a business trip, he would at least let her know. "It's your birthday today. Why do you seem to be in a bad mood?" Yan Chaozong asked in confusion. Yan Chaozong was quite happy that Lin Su had agreed to hold this gathering for him. At least to him, Lin Su still had him in her heart. From another perspective, there was really nothing between Lin Su and Qin Xing. Otherwise, they would have gone to the world of the two of them, and he would not have anything to do with it. Lin Su naturally had to cover it up. She said casually, "It's nothing. Maybe I've been too tired from work recently and didn't rest well." Yan Chaozong chuckled and said, "Well, work is never finished. When it's time to rest, you still have to rest. At the very least, you have to take good care of yourself. I want to take care of you, but if you don't give me a chance, I'm really afraid that Granny Lin, Uncle and Auntie will blame me." Lin Su did not want to talk about these things, so she changed the topic. "Where are we going now?" "The Peninsula Hotel. Your birthday party will be held there," Yan Chaozong explained. Lin Su said awkwardly, "Are we going now? At least let me go back and change my clothes." "No need, I've already ordered a gown for you. You can just change in the guest room of the Peninsula Hotel. It's more convenient this way." Yan Chaozong had already arranged everything. Ellie's gowns were the world's top high-end custom-made gowns. They were worn by celebrities when they walked the red carpet. Some celebrities even rented them or wore knockoff. But Yan Chaozong naturally did not lack this bit of money. After all, he was investing in his future wife. Lin Su was a little helpless, but she still said politely, "Thank you." "You don't have to thank me," Yan Chaozong said with a gentlemanly smile. Putting everything else aside, Any woman who met a man like Yan Chaozong would be the perfect life partner. But love was not something that could be settled just by being compatible. If two people lived together, it would be a lifetime. If there were no feelings, no chemistry, no topics to talk about, etc., it would not take long for them to get tired of each other. Not long after, they arrived at the Peninsula Hotel. Lin Su's close friends had been waiting for a long time. Yan Chaozong brought Lin Su directly to the customer service. Seeing Lin Su enter, her close friends joked, "Our male and female leads are finally here tonight. They are indeed a perfect match." This was Lin Su's best friend, Tan Jing. Currently, she was also in Shanghai, working in a consulting company of the world's top 500. Usually, she and Lin Su spent the most time together. Beautiful women were often surrounded by beautiful women. These three close friends were also extremely beautiful. Each of them had different styles and temperament. Lin Su stared at Tan Jing and said, "No one will think you're mute if you don't speak." "Oh, are you shy?" Tan Jing said disapprovingly. Lin Su really did not know what to do with her. Yan Chaozong knew that it was not appropriate to stay here. He said sensibly, "Then you guys chat, I'll go up and see if everything is ready. Take care, young Master Yan. We won't see you off." The few women teased him. They were more or less envious of Lin Su. But the Lin family was rich and Lin Su was also extremely outstanding. They could only be envious. After Yan Chaozong left, Tan Jing quickly pulled Lin Su inside and said, "Beauty Lin, come and try on your Ellie gown. I'm dying of envy. When will a Prince Charming buy one for me?" "You're really a gold digger," Lin Su said coquettishly. Song Chu, another beautiful woman with a good figure at the side, pouted and said, "You really don't know how lucky you are. If not for the fact that we are close friends, I would have already made a move on young Master Yan." Ha 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 ha. The few women laughed and scolded. Yan Chaozong, on the other hand, went to another room. He had already arranged for people to receive the guests tonight. At this moment, there were already many guests in the banquet hall upstairs. Yan Chaozong's phone was also about to explode from the calls. However, he did not pick up. Instead, he frowned. In front of him stood Feng He, who had just returned, and Uncle Zhen, who had been following him recently. "Feng He, how's the investigation going?" Yan Chaozong asked in a low voice. He has a daughter who is studying at Fudan University and is currently in her second year of university. Qin Xing had a girlfriend called Su Qin when he was in high school. She was the joke of their school. The two of them entered Fudan University together and broke up before graduation. It was at that time that Qin Xing's grandfather passed away. Then, he disappeared for 2.5 years. He only returned to Shanghai a few months ago. Apart from the missing information of Qin Xing for more than 2 years, all the information of Qin Xing in Xi'an is of no threat to us. Feng He said slowly, "We have found out where Qin Xing was born. He came to Xi'an with his grandfather when he was 6 years old and has been living at the foot of the Zhongnan Mountains. His grandfather did not have any background and was just an ordinary old man. After Qin Xing went to school, he was placed in foster parents' house. This man was a businessman and his business was doing quite well in Xi'an with assets of hundreds of millions. This was all the information that Feng He could find. Naturally, he could not find any further information. Even Qin Xing himself did not know what his grandfather did in the past, let alone these outsiders." After listening, Yan Chaozong was slightly satisfied. After all, the less threatening Qin Xing was, the more at ease he felt. However, he suddenly realized something was wrong. He frowned and asked, "Where are his biological parents?" "Qin Xing is an orphan. We don't know anything about his parents," Feng He explained. Yan Chaozong nodded slightly. However, he quickly looked at Uncle Zhen and said, "Uncle Zhen, you told me the day before yesterday that Qin Xing went overseas?" "Yes, I checked the flight record. He went to Chengdu and has not returned yet," Uncle Jean explained. Yan Chaozong chuckled. It's best that he doesn't return. He was not even at Lin Su's birthday. He really thought too highly of himself. All right, let's go up, Yan Chaozong said happily. When Qin Sheng came out of Pudong Airport, Xia Ding was already waiting outside. Qin Sheng frowned and asked, "Do you know where it is?" "Boss, if I can't do this, I really don't have the face to see you. I found it long ago. It's at the Peninsula Hotel. I'll send you there directly," Xia Ding said honestly. This was the task that Qin Sheng had given him. He naturally had to complete it perfectly. In the banquet hall of the Peninsula Hotel, the relatives and friends of the Yen and Lin family had all arrived. If they included each other's companions, there were a total of 40 to 50 people. It could be seen how grand the scene was today. After Yan Chaozong came in, he became the focus of the crowd. He regarded himself as the male host and greeted all the guests present. He listened to their praises and enjoyed it. After a while, Feng He came over to tell him that Lin Su was already prepared and was waiting outside. Yan Chaozong greeted everyone and left. At the same time, he asked Feng He to tell the host that they could start. Outside the banquet hall, when Yan Chaozong saw Lin Su, he was really shocked. He felt that this purplish-pink Ellie was really beautiful. He felt that this purple and pink Ellie Sob fairy gown was really suitable for Lin Su. Tonight, Lin Su was like a fairy that had fallen to the mortal world. Yan Chaozong stared at Lin Su and could not come back to his senses for a while. Lin Su was a little embarrassed, but she really admired Yan Chaozong's taste. This gown was really beautiful and especially suited for her temperament. Lin Su coughed. Yan Chaozong then came back to his senses and said sincerely, "Lin Su, you're really too beautiful tonight. I've never seen such a beautiful fairy before." "Thank you," Lin Su nodded politely. At this moment, after the host warmed up the crowd, he said slowly, "Next, let's give a warm round of applause to tonight's female lead, Lin Su." Yan Chaozong bent his knees slightly and reached out his hand at the same time. Lin Su wanted to reject him, but she had no choice but to hold his hand. Yan Chaozong smiled knowingly. When the door of the banquet hall was pushed open, he led Lin Su in slowly. Chapter 144. He wouldn't miss it, begging for monthly votes, begging for my collection, hope everyone can support me. Marriage was the most direct way for rich and powerful families to stabilize their status and strengthen their relationship with each other. Only in this way could they maximize their benefits and form an unbreakable alliance of interest. This was just like how high officials and nobles would become sworn brothers. Similarly, the bigger the ship, the harder it was to remain silent. If it was an aircraft carrier, then everyone would be afraid of it. The Lin family hoped to climb on the Yen family's big ship, and the Yen family also hoped that their big ship would be more stable. Therefore, everyone on these two ships hoped that Lin Su and Yan Chaozong would get married, but they didn't care if Lin Su was willing. Born in such a family, living like a prince since young, enjoying resources that people of the same age shouldn't have, they would naturally have to pay the price. Their price might be happiness and freedom. Ordinary people felt that Lin Su and Yan Chaozong were a good match. Whoever married a man like Yan Chaozong would not have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of their lives. For example, Lin Su's close friends. After all, in today's society, only those who had money and power could have confidence. Perhaps this was their definition of happiness. There were 10,000 Heimlets in 10,000 people's hearts, and 10,000 people's hearts also had 10,000 definitions of happiness. Lin Su's definition was to at least find someone she liked who also happened to like her. She wasn't willing to settle, and she didn't want to be like what others said. Women only needed to find a man who loved them. Yan Chaozong held Lin Su's hand and walked slowly to the stage. There were two violins playing a melodious tune, and everyone applauded for a long time. Lin Su's long hair was tied up, and she wore a light pink light sand floor-length evening gown. Yen Chaozong was handsome and suave, wearing a black and white tuxedo. Such a romantic scene was really enviable to the onlookers. Many women's eyes were a little blurred, thinking that the men around them or their future men would give them such a birthday party. However, Lin Su, the focus of the audience, the protagonist of the night, was not happy, but she still had to wear a polite and perfunctory smile. This made her feel very tired. Moreover, she had something on her mind and did not sleep well last night. She hated it the most when people arranged her life according to their emotions without asking whether she liked it or not. For example, when she wanted to start her own business, her family arranged for her to enter the family business. That was why she went on a 3-month-long journey. She emptied herself and did not think about anything. That was how she met Qin Sheng, one of the most important men in her life. Our female lead today is really beautiful. Does everyone think she's beautiful? The host sighed from the bottom of his heart. He was used to the world and had seen many beauties, but he was still conquered by Lin Su. Beautiful, everyone praised. Then let me ask our female lead, how is her mood at this moment? The host had already asked someone to pass the microphone to Lin Su. Lin Su did not like to be in the spotlight. It was just like those friends who liked to go to Paris to watch fashion shows or attend fashion banquets or brand launches. She had never cared about such things. She felt that such a life was for others to see, and there was no meaning in it. However, in this situation tonight, she could only suppress her disgust and continue. She cooperated and said, "I'm very excited. Thank you for coming to my birthday party. Beauty Lin, you should be most grateful to this handsome man beside you. As far as I know, your birthday party was planned and prepared by Mr. Yen." The host was in control of the situation. Lin Su looked at Yen Chaozong, who was beside her. He was indeed very outstanding. He had always been cultivated by old Master Yen as his successor. The other people in the Yen family could also see that old Master Yen admired him. Yen Chaozong did not let the Yen family down. He had always been outstanding among his peers. Now, he had also participated in the Yen family's business and was doing very well. The Yen family was currently led by the second son of the Yen family, who was also Yen Chaozong's second uncle. He only had 2 daughters, so he especially valued Yen Chaozong. As for the 2 children of the third son, one was a playboy and the other was too young. "Thank you," Lin Su only said 2 simple words. Yen Chaozong was more or less disappointed. But what could he do? Lin Su had always been like this to him. A word of thanks is worth more than 1,000 words. I think Mr. Yen can also understand what Miss Lin means. After all, you two have been childhood sweethearts. I heard that you two are going to get engaged soon. Then, let us first congratulate this couple with a warm round of applause. This was what Yen Chaozong taught the host. He was planning to use different methods to force Lin Su to the edge of the cliff, leaving her with no way out. He wanted everyone to know that Lin Su was his fiancée, and no one should have any ideas about her. After hearing this, Lin Su's expression changed. She restrained the anger in her heart. She did not expect Yen Chaozong to have such a trick up his sleeves. The 2 families had not decided yet, and he had already sealed the coffin. Did he really think that he could make her die? At this time, the host left the scene happily. Yen Chaozong could see that Lin Su did not like it. Even if she did not like it, he had to do this. Qin Sheng's appearance made Yen Chaozong realize the danger. In the past, the methods he used to deal with other pursuers were always successful. But this Qin Sheng did not fall for it. He could only use 2 methods at the same time to ensure that nothing went wrong. Thank you. On behalf of Lin Su, I thank everyone for attending her birthday party. I also hope that everyone can be there on the day of our engagement. Yen Chaozong did not feel that there was anything wrong with Lin Su. They all thought that Lin Su was just too excited or too nervous. When I first met Lin Su, I was 6 years old. I saw a little girl with her hair tied up in a ponytail sitting on the lawn. Her hands were supporting her chin as she looked at the sunset. I thought I had forgotten her, but when I came back to China and saw her again, I still had the same feeling. I felt that I couldn't wait any longer, so under the matchmaking of the two families, I chased after her without hesitation. Although everyone knew that we were going to get engaged soon, I never confessed to her. So today, I want to confess to her. I want to tell her that I love her, Yan Chaozong said affectionately. Yan Chaozong looked at Lin Su and said, I was 6 years old when I first met Lin Su. I saw a little girl with her hair tied up in a ponytail sitting on the lawn, her hands supporting her chin, looking at the sunset. Her eyes were a little sad, which made my heart ache. At that time, I made up my mind that I must marry this girl in this lifetime. Later, we gradually grew up and experienced a lot of things together. Lin Su was like a big sister taking care of me, which made my heart more and more touched. I also made up my mind. After graduating from high school, we didn't contact each other for some years. At this time, the lights suddenly dimmed and the spotlight shone on Lin Su and Yan Chaozong. Yan Chaozong knelt on one knee and slowly took out the diamond ring that he had prepared for a long time from his pocket. This was a custom-made diamond ring that belonged to Lin Su. Lin Su's face was full of shock. She had thought that Yan Chaozong was holding this business party just to let everyone know that they were going to be engaged. She didn't expect that Yan Chaozong still had a trick up his sleeve. He was proposing to her. Everyone present exclaimed. They did not expect that this was the main theme of today, and they were witnessing this moment. If it was another woman, she might have been blinded by happiness at this time. Unfortunately, Lin Su was not moved at all. On the contrary, she was very angry. This was forcing her to the edge of the cliff step by step. She had no reason to refuse. Yan Chaozong was really too shrewd. Lin Su, marry me. Yan Chaozong took out the diamond ring and said affectionately. No matter what, Yan Chaozong was absolutely sincere at this time. Lin Su's face turned pale. She did not know what to do. She really did not know. After all, she had never experienced this kind of situation before. She knew that if she did not agree, she would lose Yan Chaozong's face completely and also slap the Yan family's face. It would make the Lin family even angrier. But she knew that if she agreed, the happiness that belonged to her in this life would be taken away. And she had no chance at all. It was impossible for her to agree perfunctorily first and then reject him later. Say yes, say yes. Everyone present was watching the show and did not think that it would be a big deal. They began to cheer for Yan Chaozong, but they did not know what Lin Su was feeling. The voices were getting louder and louder. Lin Su was completely stunned and did not know what to do. Yan Chaozong kept staring at Lin Su, his face full of sincerity. Lin Su did not respond for a long time. The voices of the crowd gradually disappeared. In the end, it was especially quiet. Yan Chaozong was prepared to continue to say something that could move Lin Su. He believed that Lin Su would definitely nod. At this moment, the door of the banquet hall was slowly pushed open. A man walked in from outside. The man was holding a cake with candles on it. 2 little girls followed him on both sides. Their little faces were red and there were many cracks. They had never been to such a luxurious hotel and had never seen such a glamorous scene. At this moment, they were very nervous and their hands were tightly gripping onto their clothes. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. The 2 little girls had a tacit understanding and sang the birthday song at the same time. Although their voices were not loud, in such a quiet scene, everyone's attention was turned to them. Lin Su also subconsciously looked in the direction of the door. When she saw the man who was holding a cake but looked a little tired, and the 2 little girls beside him who had written her countless letters but she did not have time to visit them, Lin Su's eyes instantly turned red. Then, she revealed the brightest smile of the night. Chapter 145. No regrets? Come, come, come. Smash the monthly tickets. The slightly tired man holding the cake in his hands was naturally Qin Xing. The two little girls singing the birthday song were the two sisters that Lin Su had sponsored back then. Lin Su had been sponsoring them for the past 2 years, but due to work and other reasons, she did not have time to visit them. However, the two sisters would often write letters to Lin Su. As it was too expensive to call them, they could not bear to do so. Lin Su would also occasionally call their teacher, and ask the teacher to find them for a chat. The two sisters' grades were especially good, which made Lin Su very happy. God rarely gave you 2 chances to change your fate. If you did not grasp the first chance, then your fate in this life might be like that. The two sisters were not willing to miss this chance. When he returned to Shanghai and met Lin Su for the first time, Qin Xing heard Lin Su say that she missed the two sisters very much. She felt a little guilty because she had not had time to visit them. That night, Qin Xing was thinking about what kind of birthday present could move Lin Su. In the end, he thought of the two sisters. Hence, Qin Xing did not hesitate to go to Chengdu. Then, he drove straight to Sichuan Southwest, which was hundreds of kilometers away, and brought the two sisters to Shanghai. This was also their first time leaving their hometown, their first time taking a plane, and their first time coming to Shanghai. In the past, they only saw the big city on TV or in photos. This time, they had fulfilled their little wishes. After traveling back and forth for thousands of miles, Qin Xing was really exhausted. Other than taking a nap on the plane, he basically did not sleep. When he came back, he did not even change his clothes and directly rushed to the Peace Hotel. Everything else was arranged by Xia Ding. Hence, at this moment, Qin Xing looked more like a down-and-out migrant worker. Everyone's attention was focused on the entrance of the banquet hall. The stage lighting engineer thought it was Yan Chaozong's surprise segment, so he specially shone the spotlight on Qin Xing and the two little girls. Yan Chaozong's expression changed instantly. He did not expect Qin Xing to mess things up at this time. Qin Xing held the cake and slowly walked towards Lin Su with the two little girls under everyone's gaze. Lin Su stared at Qin Xing with red eyes. She really did not need a grand, complicated, and impetuous scene. She just needed to be moved. Feng He realized the danger and hurriedly rushed out to block Qin Xing. He sneered and said, "I advise you not to take another step forward. Otherwise, I might take your life." Qin Xing was calm and at ease. He stared at Feng He with a faint smile on his face. It seemed that he did not take this as a threat and did not believe that Feng He would dare to mess around here. Qin Xing did not move, but Lin Su, who was on the stage, could no longer sit still. She snorted coldly. Feng He turned around and looked at Yan Chaozong. Of course, he would not listen to Lin Su. He had to act according to Yan Chaozong's wishes. At this moment, Yan Chaozong had the intention to kill, but he could only grit his teeth and said, "Let him come over." Feng He glared at Qin Xing fiercely and stepped aside helplessly. Finally, Qin Xing walked to the stage with the two little girls and stood beside Lin Su. The two little girls were very happy to see Lin Su. They said nervously and awkwardly, "Sister Lin, happy birthday." Lin Su held the two little girls in her arms dotingly. She touched their hair and said, "I haven't seen you for more than 2 years. You've grown so tall and beautiful." The two little girls blushed in embarrassment. Lin Su then raised her head and looked at Qin Xing. His hair was messy and he had not shaved for a few days. There was a lot of dirt on his body. "Happy birthday," Qin Xing said calmly. Lin Su said sincerely, "Thank you. Blow out the candles." Qin Xing looked at the candles that were about to burn out and smiled. "But first, make a wish." Lin Su nodded and then closed her eyes. She put her palms together and began to make a wish. There was a faint smile on her face. At this time, his mood had finally recovered. After making the wish, Lin Su opened her eyes. She held the two little girls and gestured for them to blow out the candles together. The three of them blew out all the candles in one breath. The rest of the audience did not seem to understand what was going on, but they clapped subconsciously. The lights in the banquet hall shone again. The waiter took the cake away. Yen Chaozong, who was next to him, felt like he had been punched several times. He was full of resentment but had nowhere to vent it. He had prepared a big 6-layer cake for Lin Su, but now it was useless. At this time, everyone understood. It seemed that Yen Chaozong was proposing to Lin Su just now, but was interrupted by this sloppy man in front of them. What should they do now? Lin Su's attention was completely on Qin Sheng. Yen Chaozong had been left at the side and was quite embarrassed. Lin Su had already made up her mind. She picked up the microphone and faced the audience, took a deep breath and said, "Let me formally introduce everyone." After that, Lin Su made an action that shocked everyone. She held Qin Sheng's arm tightly and said, "This is my boyfriend. His name is Qin Sheng. I hope everyone can take care of him in the future." Her words caused an uproar. Everyone was stunned. They did not know what Lin Su was trying to do. Qin Sheng was also stunned. He did not expect that Lin Su would suddenly agree to be his girlfriend in front of everyone. This was absolutely unexpected. Yen Chaozong was even more stunned. He had arranged everything carefully to propose to Lin Su. He did not expect that not only did Lin Su not agree, but she also announced such a news. To him, this was definitely a critical hit. At this moment, Yen Chaozong's heart was like dead ashes. He stared at Lin Su with a dumbfounded face, as if he wanted Lin Su to give him an explanation. Lin Su turned around and looked at Yen Chaozong. She said calmly, "Chaozong, I'm sorry. I know you like me, and I also know the feelings between our two families, but I already have someone I like. Thank you for taking care of me all the time. I'm sorry." Yen Chaozong was completely desperate. He did not know what he had done wrong to make Lin Su treat him like this. Tonight, he had turned from the most dazzling male lead to the biggest joke in the audience. He already felt that everyone was pointing at him. He, who had been a winner in life since he was young, had completely become a loser in life at this moment. At this moment, his face had never looked so terrible. When had he ever suffered such a great humiliation? However, Yen Chaozong still restrained his anger. He knew that if he continued to stay here, he would only become a clown in everyone's eyes. Hence, he smiled faintly at Lin Su and left the banquet hall directly. However, he did not look Qin Sheng in the eye at all. To him, Qin Sheng could not be considered as an opponent at all. If Qin Sheng was compared to him, this itself was the biggest humiliation to him. After Yen Chaozong left, Feng He and the rest also left. The entire Yen family had been slapped in the face. Hence, everyone in the Yen family followed closely behind and left. An extremely lively birthday party, because of Qin Sheng's appearance and Lin Su's sudden announcement, was completely messed up. Since Yen Chaozong had already left, Lin Su knew that there was no need for them to stay. Hence, she held Qin Sheng's hand and left with the two little girls without saying goodbye to anyone present. The faces of everyone in the Lin family were also extremely terrible. They were completely disappointed in Lin Su. They also understood that after tonight's incident, it would be impossible for the Lin family to unite with the Yen family through marriage. They reckoned that the relationship between the two families would also be in question because of this incident. If nothing went wrong, it would not take long before the entire Lin family, Yen family, and their surrounding friends would know about what happened tonight. By then, it would really be lively. Outside the Peninsula Hotel, Xia Ding left Qin Sheng's Aston Martin. Qin Sheng left with Lin Su and the two little girls. In the end, they ran to a food stall to have their dinner. The Aston Martin parked by the road was really too ostentatious. After ordering, Qin Sheng and Lin Su looked at each other. Qin Sheng still had not come back to his senses. He felt that Lin Su was really too crazy tonight. This meant that the two of them were completely at the forefront of the storm. No one knew how things would develop next. The two little girls were called Shu 1 and Shu E. They had been hungry. After the dishes were served, they only cared about filling their stomach. Pfft! Qin Shing and Lin Su suddenly burst out laughing at the same time. Shu 1 and Shu E looked at each other. They looked at Qin Shing and then at Lin Su, not knowing what had happened. Qin Shing patted Shu Wen's head and smiled. Don't worry about us. You guys eat first. Lin Su lowered her head and smiled faintly. Lin Su, you really agree to be my girlfriend? Qin Shing asked weakly. He felt that Lin Su might be just saying it and did not take it seriously. Lin Su drank a mouthful of water and stared at Qin Shing. Her gaze was extremely charming. She smiled and said, "It seems like you haven't confessed to me yet. If I agree just like that, wouldn't it be too unreserved?" Lin Su's words were obviously telling Qin Shing that as long as he confessed, she would agree to it. Therefore, Qin Shing straightened his back and looked serious. Without hesitation, he said, "Lin Su, I like you. Be my girlfriend. I am willing to use my whole life to protect you. No matter what happens in the future, no matter how big the waves are, no matter how high I stand or how badly I fall, as long as you don't give up, I will always be by your side. Okay, I will eat and drink from you. I will rely on you for the rest of my life." From the moment she announced the news, Lin Su had already promised Qin Shing. At this moment, no matter what Qin Shing said, she would nod. Originally, he thought that Lin Su would still make things difficult for him. He did not expect that Lin Su would directly nod. This made Qin Shing somewhat at a loss, and he did not know what to say next. No matter how stupid Shu 1 and Shu E were, they understood what was happening at this moment. Of course, they liked Qin Shing and Lin Su being together. They clapped excitedly. "You won't regret it?" Qin Shing thought of what might happen next. At that time, the pressure that Lin Su would face was not something he could understand. Therefore, he said slowly, "I can give you a chance to regret it." "I won't regret it. I'm just afraid that you will regret it." Lin Su shook her head stubbornly and asked. Qin Shing smiled disapprovingly and said, "Even if the sky falls down, I won't regret it. I'm just afraid that you will be wronged. People of the same age as me have been wronged for so long, but I have always been living a smooth life. It's nothing to be wronged now, because I know that you will feel sorry for me and protect me. In the future, you will make it up to me," Lin Su said very gently. In the end, she was already embarrassed and lowered her head. When had she ever said such sweet words to a man? Chapter 146. Thank you for meeting me, begging for monthly votes, begging for collection. She knew what was going to happen next. Qin Shing was afraid that she would be wronged. In fact, she was even more afraid that Qin Shing would be wronged because she knew that no matter how the Lin family or the Yen family treated her, they would not go too far. After all, she was still a child of the Lin family. However, it was different for Qin Shing. They would definitely think of ways to deal with him. The Yen and Lin families were wealthy and noble families in Ninghai and Shanghai. Now that such a thing had happened, they would naturally make the initiator, Qin Shing, pay the price. After all, Qin Shing lived in Shanghai and the Yen family was deeply rooted there. If Qin Shing wanted to stay in Shanghai, he would have to face the powerful Yen family. What would he choose then? After dinner, Qin Shing was thinking about how to arrange for Shu 1 and Shu E. However, Lin Su took the initiative to let them stay at her place. She could take care of them too. Tomorrow, she would take 2 days off to show the two sisters around. Then, Qin Shing would send them back. Qin Shing was quite satisfied with Lin Su's arrangement. Qin Shing drove Lin Su and the two sisters back to their apartment. To be honest, Qin Shing really did not want to part with Lin Su. After all, he was very emotional tonight. However, he still said sensibly, "Then you guys rest early. I'll go back first." Lin Su stared at Qin Shing with a playful look. "Don't you want to go up and sit for a while?" "Okay." Qin Shing did not give Lin Su a chance to regret and nodded in agreement. Lin Su could not help but laugh. This man was quite cute sometimes. Back to Yen Chaozong, who had been slapped hard in the face. After leaving the Peninsula Hotel, Yen Chaozong drove back to Thompson Epin's house alone. He wanted to be alone and turned off his phone. He knew that the outside world had already known about what happened tonight. There were tens of millions of people in Shanghai, but only a few stood at the top of the pyramid. A piece of news could be known by the whole city in no time, let alone such a big joke. Many people were eager to see him and the Yen family become a joke. Lin Su, why did you do this to me? Yen Chaozong, who had always been calm and graceful, had completely lost his patience at this moment. He directly grabbed the vase on the dining table and smashed it against the wall. The vase shattered with a loud sound. Following that, several other artworks were smashed by Yen Chaozong. The floor of the living room was a mess. Yen Chaozong vented his anger unscrupulously. After venting his anger, Yen Chaozong calmed down. After suffering such a great loss, he had to regain his dignity. He could not do anything to Lin Su. The relationship between the Yen and Lin families was still there. He could not fall out with them. If he could get rid of Qin Shing, he and Lin Su might still have a chance. If a man did not know how to endure and was too impulsive, he would often suffer a great loss. The only thing Yen Chaozong could do now was to pretend that nothing had happened on the surface and look for an opportunity to get rid of Qin Shing behind his back. As long as he did it without anyone knowing, everyone would be happy. Hence, Yen Chaozong turned on his phone and dialed Feng He's number. You and Uncle Zhen keep a close eye on him. I want to know his movements at all times. Once you find a chance, get rid of him without hesitation. Young master, don't worry. I won't let you down, Feng He said with a gloomy face. Just as Yen Chaozong hung up, second uncle called. Yen Chaozong smiled and picked up the phone. Second uncle, what's up? Do you want to drink with me? Drink? Why would I be in the mood to drink at this time? I already know what happened tonight, yet you still act as if nothing happened. You can't even handle a woman and made such a big joke out of yourself. Do you want me to clean up your mess? Second Uncle Yen scolded Yen Chaozong. Yen Chaozong forced himself to calm down and said, Second uncle, what kind of rumors did you hear again? I had a small conflict with Lin Su. Don't worry, it's fine. It's best if it's fine. Don't let old master know about this. I'll help you block it first. You'd better clean it up, second Uncle Yen reminded him, and then hung up. In Lin Su's apartment in Lujiazui, this was Qin Shing's first time entering Lin Su's house. He originally thought that the decoration would be very luxurious and stylish, but he did not expect it to be so simple. There were down-to-earth daily necessities everywhere. It was very homey. Qin Shing was watching TV outside. Lin Su let the two sisters shower and rest first. Then, she came out to chat with Qin Shing. Qin Shing said proudly, Am I the first man to enter your house? Other than my dad, you are indeed the first. Lin Su took off her coat and only wore a sweater. She smiled faintly. Qin Shing smiled cheekily and said, It's my honor. Don't act like you've gotten what you deserve. Lin Su sat not far away from Qin Shing. She rolled her eyes at him and pouted. Qin Shing sighed and said, From tomorrow onwards, I have to save money and strive to marry you as soon as possible. If such a daughter-in-law is snatched away by someone else, it will not be worth it. Have you really thought about it? Lin Su stared at Qin Shing very seriously. Now there were only the two of them. They could say whatever they wanted to say directly. Qin Shing picked up the glass of water and smiled bitterly. Lin Su, I know what you want to say. But if there were no challenges and setbacks, it would be so easy for me to get you. I think I'm not that lucky. Otherwise, I would have become famous long ago. I promised you, so I won't regret it. I won't look back. But do you know what you're going to face? Lin Su suddenly felt the sorrow of being born in a royal family. If she was from an ordinary family, perhaps there would not be so many problems. Qin Sheng was deep in thought. After a while, he laughed at himself and said, I have to face the famous young master Yan Chaozong in Hudu. I have to face the powerful Yan family behind him. I also have to face the Lin family. This is indeed a difficult problem. But you're not afraid. As a man, what right do I have to be afraid? You know all these? Lin Su was very surprised. Qin Sheng explained slowly, I knew about the Yan family earlier. But I didn't expect my number one love rival to be Yan Chaozong. Compared to him, I'm indeed like dust. Although I don't know what the Lin family's background is, it's obviously not simple to be compared to the Yan family. But just because of this, I have to give up the woman I like. I can't do it. I will regret it for the rest of my life and live in regret. Then have you thought about how to face it? Lin Su asked casually. Qin Sheng said half-jokingly, I plan to elope with you, as long as you're willing. Speak properly, Lin Su said angrily. Qin Sheng then said seriously, to be honest, I really haven't thought about it. After all, facing them, I have no chance of winning at all. I can only deal with it when it comes. But I have the biggest advantage, which is that you're on my side. Don't worry, no matter what happens, I will stand by your side, Lin Su said firmly. She still didn't know what to do with the Yan family. But as for the Lin family, she had already prepared for the worst. It was nothing more than to leave that seemingly bright and beautiful but extremely dirty family. But she was worried about her grandmother. Thinking of this, Lin Su knew that when her grandmother heard about this, she would definitely be extremely disappointed in her. There was a woman who was willing to go through all these storms with him. Even if Qin Sheng died, he had nothing to regret. So he held Lin Su's hand emotionally. He really didn't know what he had done to make Lin Su agree. If he could successfully get through this crisis, Qin Sheng swore that he would definitely work harder to give her happiness. It was getting late. Qin Sheng didn't dare to push his luck and spend the night here. After all, he and Lin Su had just started. Moreover, he reckoned that Yan Chaozong was now watching him closely. If he knew that he spent the night here with Lin Su, he would probably chop him to death on the street tomorrow. Then I'll go back first. I'll pick you up tomorrow. I'll be your full-time driver these 2 days, Qin Sheng said with a smile after he got up. Lin Su said disapprovingly, Isn't this the responsibility of a boyfriend? Qin Sheng stretched out his hand and touched Lin Su's nose. This action was extremely ambiguous, but Lin Su didn't get angry. She just froze for a while and then lowered her head shyly. Qin Sheng was really fascinated by that look. That was why people said that no matter how strong a woman was, when they were in love, they would also look like a little woman. Lin Su sent Qin Sheng to the door. Before they parted, Qin Sheng suddenly turned around and hugged Lin Su. Lin Su was a little surprised and subconsciously hugged Qin Sheng. She said softly, What's wrong? This was not the first time Qin Sheng hugged Lin Su, but it felt different. He said slowly, Thank you for meeting you, Lin Su. After that, Qin Sheng turned around and left, leaving Lin Su standing at the door in a daze. Lin Su was stunned for a moment. After a long time, she suddenly laughed. Driving Xia Ding's flashy Aston Martin, Qin Sheng just drove out of the neighborhood and found that he was being followed. This was expected, but Qin Sheng was still careful, for fear of any accidents. When he returned to Shilin Huayuan, it was already past 11 o'clock at night. Too many things had happened tonight. Qin Sheng needed to calm down and then think about some things next. He was not a brainless young man. The crisis was already in front of him. If he didn't think of a way to solve it, he wouldn't even know how he would die in the end. However, facing the powerful Yan family and Lin family, facing Yan Chaozong who was many times better than him, Qin Sheng felt very helpless. He had a sense of powerlessness. But no matter what, the road was chosen by himself, and he had to face it, unless he gave up on Lin Su, which was obviously impossible. Hao Lei and Chang Baji were still awake. Hearing the movement outside, they quickly ran out. They saw Qin Xing sitting in the living room smoking and frowning. Hao Lei asked, "Damn, what have you been doing these days? Your phone is off, and you can't send messages. We all thought you were going to disappear again." Qin Xing raised his head and smiled. "I went out to do something, just came back at night. Miss Han said that if you didn't come back, she would call the police." Hao Lei sighed. He had been pressured by Miss Han for the past 2 days. She kept asking him to contact Qin Xing. Chang Baji obviously felt that Qin Xing had something on his mind, so he asked directly, "Look at you, what happened?" Qin Xing put out the cigarette butt and let out a long sigh. "Indeed, something happened, and it's a tricky thing. I might have to get out of Shanghai." Chapter 147. Chapter 147, Awesome. I've been so tired these few days. I really don't know why so many people are getting married in May. I'm either attending a wedding or on my way to a wedding. I'm drunk. Chang Baji and Hao Lei could not help but think about what had happened that made Qin Xing so afraid, and even said that he might leave Shanghai. Obviously, Qin Xing must have offended some big shot. Only in this case would he have to leave Shanghai. Chang Baji and Hao Lei thought to themselves. Chang Baji, who was astute and circumspect, asked very calmly, "There is always a solution to everything. Even if we take 10,000 steps back, as long as there is life, there is hope. China is so big, there must be a place for you to stay. So tell us what's the matter first, and we will help you analyze it." Before he knew what was going on, he could not say anything. In many people's eyes, especially those big shots, men who valued women too much would not be able to achieve anything. But sometimes, there would always be a powerful woman behind a successful man. 2.5 years ago, I met a woman when I was traveling. 2.5 years ago, I met a woman when I was traveling. We went through a lot of things together and I fell in love with her at that time. Later on, we separated. We both had our own paths to walk. When we parted, I said that if I met you again one day, I would definitely pursue you. At that time, she acquiesced. However, we never contacted each other in the past 2 years. Qin Xing slowly told his story with Lin Su. Hao Lei looked like he was watching a melon. "Don't tell me that you met again? Although we didn't contact each other, I couldn't forget her in my heart. Maybe there will be an echo if you keep thinking about her. Some time ago, God let me meet her, so I fulfilled my promise and started to pursue her without hesitation. Maybe she still has feelings for me and allowed me to pursue her. Just tonight, at her birthday party, she agreed to be my girlfriend," Qin Xing said with a smile. Hao Lei was confused. "This is a good thing. Why did you say that you got into trouble? But do you know who her #1 protector is? Also my #1 love rival?" Qin Xing looked up at Hao Lei and smiled bitterly. Hao Lei was confused. "Who?" "Yan Chaozong from the Yan family," Qin Xing answered slowly. Hao Lei was dumbfounded. F***ck, you're playing with fire. I finally understand what's going on. It turns out that you've stolen young Master Yan's woman. No wonder you said those words. Chang Baji, who had been silent all this while, said with relief. Qin Xing said helplessly, "How would I know that she is the woman that Yan Chaozong likes? What's more, it didn't occur to me that her family is also not simple. According to what she said, the two families want to unite by marriage, and both of them are quite optimistic about this marriage. Now that I've intervened, do you think that I'm in trouble?" "What does she mean?" Hao Lei asked with concern. A woman who could be liked by the young master of the Yan family was definitely not an ordinary woman. Qin Xing explained, "She has agreed to be my girlfriend. What do you think? She doesn't like Yan Chaozong, nor is she willing to sacrifice her own happiness for the benefit of her family. Therefore, she has made all the necessary preparations." This woman is not simple, Hao Lei sighed. Qin Sheng looked at Chang Baji and Hao Lei and said with a heavy heart, "Tell me, what should I do?" Chang Baji and Hao Lei looked at each other. This matter was indeed not simple. If it was not handled well, not only would Qin Sheng have to leave Shanghai in embarrassment, but his life might also be in danger. He had stolen young Master Yan's girlfriend. According to the Yan family's style, how could they tolerate it? If Qin Sheng was also an opponent of the same level, they might have some scruples. But in front of the Yan family, Qin Sheng had no ability to fight back at all. How could the Yan family let him go? For a moment the three of them did not speak. This kind of thing was really hard to say. If I had a choice, I would definitely give up on this woman. Maybe I am a heartless person. To me, women mean nothing at all. Taking a step back, everyone has to face the reality. The reality is that the weak are prey to the strong, and the strong are king. This is the law of survival for thousands of years. Chang Baji finally opened his mouth. He was telling the truth. Then he continued, "Qin Sheng, I know that you are an ambitious man, and also a man who is unwilling to be mediocre. You definitely do not want to be in your current position. You have a long way to go. But if you offend such a strong opponent now, do you think it's a good or bad thing for you? If the Yan family is polite, it's still okay. You may get a beauty and live a normal life. But such a woman, will she be willing to live a normal life with you? Love is ultimately not able to stand the test of time and reality. Secondly, if the Yan family is not polite, even if you leave Shanghai, they will not let you go. No matter how tough your life is, you will not be able to stand the test of such an opponent." Chang Baji's words made Qin Sheng fall into an ice cellar. However, he had already promised Lin Su. He could not give up at this moment. That would not only be a slap to his face, it would also hurt Lin Su's heart. This was not his style. He said, "I feel that no matter how powerful the Yan family is, they are not qualified to make you give up on the woman you like. Moreover, this woman is now unswervingly on your side and intends to go through thick and thin with you. This is also your advantage. If a man gives up on the woman he likes for the sake of his future success, I feel that no matter how successful this man is, he will still be a failure." "I knew you would say that. You guys are still too young. Life is not just about love." "What is life?" "Life is reality," Chang Baji shook his head and said. Hao Lei immediately retorted, "Lao Chang, you are too pessimistic. If life is only about these, then it is really frustrating to live. Moreover, you can't ask Qin Sheng, a man who is not even 30 years old, to do things that only a 50-year-old man would do, right? Maybe he will regret it one day, but at least he will not have any regrets in this life. He likes this woman now, will he still like her in the future? Didn't he have a girlfriend who he dated for 6 years in the past? They broke up in the end, and now he likes another woman. I have never believed in love," Chang Baji said disapprovingly. The two of them were about to quarrel. Chang Baji naturally had to consider for Qin Sheng's sake. He was already 40 years old. His peers were already in high positions, but he was just starting out. The reason why he followed Qin Sheng to Shanghai was because he wanted to stand firm in Shanghai and stand out in the future. However, Qin Sheng's current crisis was equivalent to strangling everything in the cradle. "Alright, stop talking, let me think about it." Qin Sheng waved his hand and stopped the two people who were really quarreling. Maybe he was really too childish, maybe he was right. Qin Sheng turned around and went back to his room to rest. Chang Baji and Hao Lei looked at each other and left thoughtfully. Hao Lei finally understood why Qin Sheng was unwilling to reconcile with Su Qin and why he did not have any feelings for Han Bing. It turned out that there was someone he liked. What kind of woman could capture Qin Sheng and make him indifferent to beauties like Su Qin and Han Bing? That night, the three people in Shilin Huayuan did not sleep well. Qin Sheng did not sleep at all. This was the first critical period of his life after he returned to Shanghai. Compared to the matter with Han Guoping, this time he was going to face the Yen family directly. Qin Sheng thought about a lot of things. He thought about the things that his grandfather told him when he was young. Although his grandfather was no longer around, he was still like a bright light that guided him forward, so that he would not lose himself in the midst of getting lost. The next day, when Qin Sheng woke up, Chang Baji and Hao Lei were already waiting in the living room. Obviously, they were waiting for Qin Sheng's answer. Qin Sheng stood in front of them. Last night, he also thought about the impact of his decision on Chang Baji and Hao Lei. They both followed him to Shanghai. However, in the end, he felt that the biggest impact of this matter would be him. Even if the Yen family took revenge, they would not do anything to them. "I've decided," Qin Sheng said in a deep voice. Chang Baji and Hao Lei looked serious, waiting for Qin Sheng to reveal his answer. "Give up or persist. Even if it's a bottomless abyss, I will never retreat," Qin Sheng said slowly. Hearing this answer, Hao Lei's face was full of excitement. He absolutely supported Qin Sheng. No matter what happened in the future, he would also help Qin Sheng to get through the crisis. A man should be like this. A woman had already given her life to you. If you were still indecisive, she would really be bitterly disappointed. This is the Qin Sheng I know, Hao Lei laughed out loud. Chang Baji sighed helplessly. In the end, he could only say, forget it. Since this is your plan, there's nothing I can do. Let's fight with the Yen family and see if we can survive. At the very least, we can exchange a life for a life. Leave this kind of thing to me when the time comes. Qin Sheng could understand Hao Lei's reaction. However, Chang Baji's words made Qin Sheng very surprised. He originally thought that after he made such a decision, Chang Baji might be very disappointed and was more likely to keep a distance from him or leave him. However, Chang Baji still supported him. "Uncle Chang," Qin Sheng said very excitedly. Chang Baji knew what Qin Sheng wanted to say. He laughed and said, "My life is cheap. Since we came to Shanghai, the three of us have been comrades in the same boat. I can't abandon the two of you at this time. This is also not my style. Otherwise, my master will jump up and scold you." Qin Sheng laughed out loud. Chang Baji and Hao Lei both went to work. They reminded Qin Sheng to contact them at any time if there were any signs of trouble. He must not put himself in a desperate situation. Qin Sheng also agreed gladly. On the other hand, Hao Lei was worried about how he was going to face Han Bing. When it came to matters of the heart, he could not control anyone's thoughts. Everyone could see that Han Bing liked Qin Sheng. Before he left, Hao Lei reminded him not to forget to call Han Bing to tell her that he was back. Xia Ding's Aston Martin was too eye-catching. Qin Sheng had to send the car to Xia Ding first. This guy had just woken up and was preparing to go to the company. Although Xia Ding looked like a playboy usually, he was quite business-minded. He handled the company's affairs in an orderly manner. If this guy was allowed to go all out, he would probably be a great entrepreneur. After Xia Ding saw Qin Sheng, he was naturally concerned about what happened last night. He did not dare to call Qin Sheng for fear of disturbing the two of them. Now that he saw Qin Sheng, Xia Ding naturally asked, "Boss, quickly tell me, what happened? Was the goddess touched? What do you think?" Qin Sheng deliberately kept him in suspense. Seeing Qin Sheng's arrogant look, Xia Ding seemed to already know the result. He laughed and said, "Seems like it's going well. I guess it won't be long before you can win the goddess heart." "Not long," Qin Sheng shook his head and smiled. Xia Ding was a little confused. He frowned and said, "What do you mean?" "Lin Su agreed to be my girlfriend last night," Qin Sheng said truthfully. After all, without Xia Ding, he would not have met Lin Su again. Xia Ding could be considered as a matchmaker between him and Lin Su. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.